Now we're setting up the ad system, the framework that Sloth used that helped the brand grow from zero to $800,000 in its first year online. We're going to see Sloth's actual ads, the campaigns we were running, the structures, the budgets, when we started running them, and how we knew it was time to scale. But as we mentioned in the beginning, seeing the ads is great, and it's obviously a super helpful real world example. But the real secret to this is understanding the fundamentals behind it, how the system works. Now, I ran ads for years and years, honestly, just clicking buttons in the ad account and hoping for better results. But they finally clicked for me when I heard it explained to me like this. I want you to close your eyes and imagine for a second that the store we just set up, all the products we design, and everything that we're building about our business, instead of it being online on Shopify, we just have a brick and mortar store. We are old fashioned, Main Street USA, good old business. And our business is positioned next to a highway. Now, on this highway, there are lots and lots of cars driving by, going about their day. They got plans, they got sights to see. And our job as marketers now, with our marketer hat on, is to answer the question of how do we get people to take a quick detour off the highway and come visit our store? Because until we do that, like we don't have any traffic, obviously. So the way we answer this question is by figuring out what billboard ads we want to put up. And we don't want to just put up any billboard. We want to put up a billboard that is going to drive traffic to our store, opposed to them just continuing on their journey. So the question is, what should we use for the billboards? Now, there's lots of different options, everything from Meta to Google Ads to TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. There's a dime a dozen out there. And personally, starting out, I tested all of them because I thought that I needed all of them in order to scale. But now, after testing through platform after platform, I can very confidently say that Meta, which is also Instagram, if you didn't know, is the best place to get started. Because in all honesty, you only need one traffic source to scale to $1 million per year. That's exactly what we did on Sloth. That's exactly what we've done with 8 other brands that we grew from zero to 1 million in the first year online. And it is widely considered the top social media advertising platform because even though Meta or Facebook may have fallen out of the coolness factor a couple of years ago, despite what many people may believe, the cost of running ads has truly never been better. Because you can see over the past several years, starting back in January 21, the average cost for ads has stayed pretty much the same, if not actually dropped a little. And that's despite inflation. So the good news here is that you're going to see all of the ads, which honestly, this never happens. People share general examples, but seeing the actual ads that drove that revenue is something completely different. Now, some people assume that when they hear that Slaw spent $300,000 on ads to generate that 800,000 in sales, that it meant that we had that in the bank. Like we had a couple hundred grand just sitting around. We're like, hey, why don't we throw it at a brand, see what happens? And then it begs the question of, well, how is this supposed to work with people with lower budgets, like with a reasonable income, some savings, but we don't want to, set the world on fire with this. Well, of course not. We don't do that at all. And that's not the way that we've started any of our brands. And you can't fault anybody for thinking that because I didn't know this until I actually ran it. But what we actually do is we create a flywheel so our customers are financing our ads for us. So to show you what I mean, so say for example, we start off by spending $100 with Meta. $100 to send traffic to our store that then converts to about $300 in sales. And we're going to talk about how we do that in just a second. And then out of those $300 that we make, we then have to pay Printify to fulfill the orders and ship them to our customers. Then on top of that, we have our overhead expenses, transaction fees, all the normal keep the lights on type stuff. But what that leaves us with is $50 in excess profit. And something not many people realize is that the money we receive from Shopify, it deposits to our account within 1 to 2 days, meaning we're getting that money pretty much just as quickly as we're making it. And then we can use the excess that's left over to then pour back into more ads. So then we restart the cycle again with $150 put in. And again, we only started off with 100 in this example. Now that 150 in spend then turns into about $450 in sales. Then after you back out cost of goods sold, other keep the lights on type of expenses, we're left with $75 this time in excess profit. Well, you can probably guess where this is going. Then we restart the flywheel and increase our budget to $225. That then puts out about $600 to $700 in sales with $113 in excess profit. 1,113 would be great, but it's slow and steady. And then we take that $113 put it back into ads. And the math underestimated a bit here, to be honest. This would leave us with about $260 to put back into the ads again. Now let's see a real world example of how this actually works out using Sloth as our case study. So Sloth Hiking Club, Sloth is not an easy word to roll off the tongue, but it launched in January and did about $900 in sales. Then picturing back to our flywheel, we then reinvest the profits into increasing our budgets, which then left us with February about $3,300 in sales. Then in March, things ramped up again by more than double to $7,000 in sales. Then April more than doubled again to just under $17,000 in sales. Then in May, things really started to take off and we generated $50,000 in sales. And then finally in June, we hit our first $100,000 month, which came from over 2,000 orders or roughly 4,000 t-shirts in total. And from $115,000 in sales, Sloth spent about $47,000 on ads. So now we know, does that mean that we started with that amount of money? No, absolutely not. We started with the amount needed for this, which was about a couple $100. Point being, we start with enough to start the snowball effect. The snowball effect that compounds in our favor. And this is how we are able to start brands with a couple $100 to a few $1,000s max and scale very quickly to hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales every month. And now when it comes to our starting budget, we want to be more specific. So let's talk about it. Because the first time I ran campaigns, I spent way too much. And the reason for this was simple. And this is something that I actually learned from interviewing somebody from the accelerator who scaled his brand from zero to a couple $100,000 in sales. I asked him, what was the key to your starting mentality when you're running ads? And he said, honestly, it was pretty simple. I just started off with a dollar amount in mind and a set amount of time that I was willing to see this through, which is such a beautiful and simple frame because what that allows us to do is set aside a dollar amount and cut ties with it and view that as our investing budget rather than every dollar that's being spent viewed as a dollar that's being taken out of our life savings. So just that simple mindset reshift allows us to see this from a totally different lens. And we're fixing that right now is I want you to choose the amount that you are comfortable spending so that you have complete control over this and you will never spend more than that amount. That is until things are working and the snowball has started compounding in our favor and we're profitable, but we'll talk about all that later on. So our recommendation here is starting with $50 per weekend until we're profitable, and then we start to ramp things up. So set aside that dollar amount in your mind as the money that you are investing in your learning. And keep in mind that you could spend $5,000 on a Facebook ads course, and some of them charge way more than that, or you can learn it yourself from real world data while testing out your brand, figuring out which designs and mockups work best. So I want us to view this as an investment in not only your brand and your products, but most importantly, in yourself. And now the $800,000 question is how? Like, how do we go from starting off with a small amount of money and starting the snowball effect until it turns into customer finance acquisition and we have a machine that's chugging along? Well, I'm so glad you asked because we start with this right here. This right here is where we are building a machine. This is the whole game. Getting to the point where when we build this, every time we put in $100, we are getting $300 returned back to us. That is the machine that we are building, and that is what we have done over the past 8 brands and then plus Sloth on top of that. None of this is to say that it is easy or in any way a guarantee. And to be completely honest and upfront with you, we have done this for years and years. And I had 10 plus failed brands before things finally started to click. But what I can promise you is that while your results will vary, and it entirely comes down to the action that you take, and our results are not typical, this is repeatable, at least from my own experience. And the beautiful part about it is that it is simple, but that's not to say that it's easy. And the way we get there is something that all of us can wrap our arms around. It's by testing one thing at a time and embracing the testing mindset. And we do this through our 3-phase testing strategy. We test one single variable at a time, and we only move on to the next until we know that we've got that one dialed in. So in phase 1, we test the mockup. Then phase 2, we're testing our designs. And then ultimately, we end up in phase 3, store optimization. So in phase 1 of the mockup test, this is where we are using the same design across numerous mockups like you built already with Eric. And the goal here is that we are starting by isolating the frame because this picture that you're looking at here as you saw from the examples earlier, this not only becomes our ads, like the actual pictures we're using. So we get the double dip. We get to use the same pictures pretty much everywhere, which is super nice. Not some insane ad creative process. But on top of that, it's used on every product and it's shown across the entire store. So testing this first sets us up for success. And then once we have that dialed in, we move on to phase two. That is our design test. And we're basically asking and answering the question of which designs that we created are resonating with people the most. And we're going to give you the exact framework, the decision making, what numbers we're looking at, and break things down so it's super simple. And you'll be able to pull action out of that information. Specifically, how should we grow our product catalog? Then, once we have a winning mockup, we have new ideas for our products, and we're growing our catalog. Then we move on to the third and final stage, which is store optimization. Basically, answering the question of how do we get people to buy? And once they're buying, how do we get them to buy more? I mentioned earlier that the $100,000 month from Sloth was about 2,000 orders and 4,000 shirts. Well, there's a slight tweak that we make on our site that almost doubles the number of products that people are ordering. And through this whole process, we are working like a mechanic. And one final frame to keep in mind that certainly would have helped me a ton when I was first running ads, if I knew this, is that if you're feeling at all nervous about this or you're hesitant, like it's a big moment, showing our products to the world, those nerves are actually a good thing because running ads for most of us is completely new. And just remember that nerves equals excited, just depending on how you decide to look at it. And it should give you confidence that 100% of the students inside of WeScale all run paid ads. And almost none of them had any kind of media buying or ad experience at all before. They were just like you and me. Like they came from normal backgrounds, normal jobs, and they just had a goal of building a brand and they were willing to figure out whatever new skill set it took in order to get there. And the other comforting piece is that you have complete control over your ad account. We can always pause them. We're going to show you how to do that. And in fact, the first campaign that we're about to run, we're actually scheduling it, meaning that we turn it on and it's set to turn off. And through this whole process, our success is not what you think it depends on. It is not about your creative skills or your media buying prowess or being Don Draper. It's actually none of those things. That was what I was shooting for. Woke up every day, put on a suit, sat down at the ads manager. I thought that was the golden ticket. Turns out it wasn't. Our success is actually dependent on your ability to use a system and take feedback, which sounds way easier said than done. But here's what it looks like. So we are building a system and inputting our effort into a strategy. And then from that strategy, the media buying system we're setting up, we're then going to get tons of data, like very exciting data that only we have. And then we're going to use that data to make better decisions. And we just rinse and repeat this again and again. And as long as we can do that, we're in great shape. So remain objective, keep the testing mindset, and enjoy the process. And that all sounds great, right? But as of right now, obviously we can't run a single ad until we built our Facebook infrastructure. And this took me a long time to learn, but the good news is that you're just going to follow me click by click as we set it up together. And once it's done, you'll never have to touch it again, unless if any little bugs or errors pop up, but that's pretty rare and we have tools to help you solve those. So then you'll have the exact same setup that is used by thousands of students, and you'll be able to launch your first campaign. So what you're looking at right here is our completed business manager setup that yours is going to look like in just a couple of minutes. And we're going to be setting this up following the same structure that thousands of students have used. And again, you can just think of Meta like the billboard company that has signage on the highway next to our store. And we are going to be working with them in order to buy ads that send people to our store. So we're essentially setting up the accounts that will let us, actually tap into that. And the good news is that there's only 4 things that we need in order to set this up. So the business manager, which acts as just a general, basically a folder. That's an easy way to think of it, a folder. And then that is holding all of the actual assets. Like the business manager, you don't actually do anything with, you just tweak settings. But then we have the ad account. This is like our control panel where we're actually choosing which ads are going to go live. Then we have our Facebook page. This is where we are setting like the brand image and the reputation that we want to put forth. This goes in the top corner of all of our ads. And then we have our pixel, which the Pixel is where my eyes just completely glazed over the first time I heard this. It's like, okay, I immediately don't understand what's going on. But it's actually really simple. It's just a little line of code that goes on your website that tells Facebook what's going on and who they should send more people of. And then finally, we have the product catalog. Now, the product catalog is really cool. We're going to be using that later on. But the good news is that these two steps we knock out at the same time. So, first up, the business manager. This is the basically the folder that is holding all of our accounts. We're going to go through and set this up. Then we're doing the ad account where we're able to see all of our ads actually running. Then the Facebook page, and then the product catalog and Pixel together. So let's do it. So step one is the business manager. So in order to create this, we're going to go to a new tab and open up business.facebook.com/settings. And then you're going to see a login screen that looks something like this. And then you're going to click login with Facebook. And a quick note, they change these pages all the time. So if you're seeing something slightly different, then, don't worry about it. This is the right page to be on. And you're going to click login with Facebook. Now, a quick note is that Facebook, when we run ads, something that's slightly different about it that I didn't realize compared to most ad platforms is we're not able to just use, create a normal account, like, enter our email password and then we're off to the races. Meta, as an extra step of verification, they want you to link an actual Facebook profile. So this doesn't have to be any more complicated, or it's simple. Basically, if you have a Facebook profile that you've used for a year or two even, and it doesn't have to be you're posting all the time. I haven't logged into mine in, years, but you're just using your personal Facebook because that's how they know you're a real person. You're good to go. If you don't have a Facebook account, then I would recommend creating one and starting to post and, get get some friends. It's not, didn't mean it the way that sounded, but basically add some friends, show that it's a real account before setting this up. Now that like 95% of people already have an account, but just wanted to mention that. So you're going to click login. You're going to go through a couple of steps and then, and it's really self-explanatory stuff. And the name of the business manager and everything doesn't really matter. But then you're going to get to a page that looks like this. So you can name it whatever you want. Like ours is this right here. So then once you get inside, you're going to see a bunch of different options down the left here. And this covers everything from where we create our pages to our ad accounts. Again, just think of this as folders within folders, and we're going to walk through all the settings together. So we went to business.facebook.com/settings, enter your business name, enter your name and email, and then bookmark this page. So I'm going to move on to the next step now, once you've done that, which is our Facebook page. And this is the brand page for our store. This is basically what people see when they search for you. And more importantly, or way more commonly, they see it in our ads. And it's really simple to set up. In order to do this, we don't need to overblow this at all. Like when I create pages, I just have a page name, a profile picture, and a cover photo. Do not conflate this with thinking that we are also doing all these social media posts and stuff. Just like we talked about at the beginning, we do paid ads. That's our bread and butter. We just set up the bare essentials to be able to do that, which is the name, the logo, cover photo, and a couple of simple settings. And then we're going to do the ad account. So let's create the page right now. So to do that, I'm going to come down here to pages and then click create new Facebook page. And then you're going to get a pop-up that, here, I'll zoom in. We're just going to name it the name of our brand. And then for category, apparel and clothing. And then a bio. This is just optional, but just for fun, I'm going to jump over to Claude real quick and say, write a less than 100 character bio for Slice Club. No, you. Okay, so if it does that, then you just say, based on the information you have in our project, this is my brand. You don't even have to type grammatically correct, which is both a blessing and a curse. Okay. "100 character." Okay, there we go. So we got a couple of different options. I'm gonna pick one that I like. Okay, drop that in. Again, it doesn't really matter. We can always change this later. There we go. Create page. There we go. Done. Nice. So here's our page. Now, first thing when you see your page, you want to make sure that you are added to it. And if you're not, just add yourself by doing assign people. But now we're going to view it on Facebook. There we go. All right. So we have the start of our Facebook page. Now we are going to switch to the profile. There we go. Welcome to our new page. Thank you so much. Do not send me emails. Yes, keep page notifications. There we go. All right, so it says we need some work. I think Facebook needs some work. Here we go. So let's first start off with our profile picture. Here we go. So our logos. Zoom in. I just try to make it as large as possible. Be pretty helpful if they let you actually see the circle. That's okay. Save. Yeah, that's off center. All right. Take two. Just going to try leaving it dead center, and there we go. Okay, that's a little high, but that's fine. Now I'm going to add a cover photo. We need to create one of these. So I'm just going to jump into Canva real quick and see what we can whip up. So I'm going to go to social media, Facebook cover. Perfect. Then golf. Oh, that's not quite golf. Good try, though. Actually, let's try something more fun. I'm going in Slice Club's Claude. I'm going to say, write a nano banana prompt to generate a Facebook cover photo for our brand called Slice Club Golfing. And the Facebook profile picture should just, or cover photo should just be very simple. Just cover the best practices and make it for the optimal size for a Facebook cover photo. There we go. Copy the prompt. Go back to Gemini. Well, that's the design gem. So I'm just going to come here, say that, then upload files. I've attached our logo to include in the center of the cover photo. All right, I might end up upgrading this. This is taking so long. Circle in the bottom left. Remove the text Slice Club at the top. Just leave the logo in the middle. And the screen just switched from white to dark because I upgraded, I assume. I feel like I'm really getting my money's worth with the darker background. All right, beautiful. That was super easy. Not at all time consuming. So now we go back to Canva after if it wants to download. Thank you so much, Google. Beautiful. Like about there. Now magic eraser. Oops. Eraser. Magic one. Yes. Erase. Nice. Okay. Download. Now we click here. upload photo. Then we go to that, upload photo, see how it looks. There we go. Beautiful. All right, page is coming along. All right, we've moved up to fair. I will take it. Next, let's edit our details. So we are going to update information. Just want to add our website, sliceclub.co. Let's make sure I did that right. Yep, beautiful. Save that. So now we added the website. You can add an email for the support address. What I recommend doing for this is you can either create a branded Gmail, which would be like support@sliceclub.co, or you can just keep it free for now and just do like sliceclubsupport@gmail.com. But I'm just going to leave it blank for now. And then next thing we're going to do is clean up the sections. See how it has a lot of extra stuff that doesn't relate to our brand. So turn all of that off. Name of the game, the big rule of thumb is just anything that is excess or unnecessary, we take out. Okay, don't need an avatar. Don't need any of this. Oh. There we go. Then I would bookmark this page as well. But other than that, our page is pretty much set up. Now we just need, the last thing it's asking us for is to write a welcome post. So classic fashion, we're going to say, write a brief Facebook welcome post introducing Slice Club to the world. And if you just paste it normally, it pastes it like that. So if you do Command Shift V, oh, I guess it just removed all the formatting. Thanks, Facebook. There we go. Now let's add a photo. Just going to post our logo for now. In general, the only thing we normally post on our page, then never click boost post, by the way. Just make it public. There we go. Now our page is set up. So next thing we're going to do, come back here, hit refresh, and the profile picture, beautiful, should be updated. Next thing we're going to do is create a ad account. So come up here. So we go back to business.facebook.com/settings. This is the hub where I recommend starting everything. And next we're going to create the ad account. So you come down here, add accounts, add, create a new ad account. And you would just type in the name of your brand, Slice Club. And for time zone, I recommend setting this to the time zone that you are in and setting it to your native currency. That's the only best practice I would recommend here. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to say for my business, there we go. I agree. Create ad account. I'm not going to add payment info for now. I'm just going to first see the connected assets, and you'll see that we don't have any. We're going to fix that in just a second. So here's our ad account, and we're going to go through the settings and everything that we set up here when we launch our first ad. But right now, we're just going to move on to the next step, which is for data sets. So the way that we're going to do this, so now we're connecting the pixel and the catalog. Go through the slides so you see what we're doing. We just set up the ad account. So this is where we set our budget, create our campaigns, basically where the magic happens. Now, step 4, connecting the pixel, super straightforward. It's great how easy they made this. So we go to Shopify, then we come down here to apps, then go to apps and sales channels, then Shopify App Store. Now we're just going to type in Meta. There we go. Facebook and Instagram. Install. Click install again. Now it's going to prompt us to connect our Facebook account. So this is our Facebook profile specifically. So we're going to do connect. There we go. Now it gives us the options to connect our shop and Facebook account. So we're going to do that. And there we go. Here it is. So scroll down, and if you have other pages, you're going to see them in here. We just scroll down to the page we want, which is Slice Club. Click connect. Next, it gives us the data sharing, which this is the pixel. And you just leave all these settings as default, and then you go to save. And then you're going to come all the way down here to create Metapixel and click create new, and then confirm. And then for advertising, you unselect every account and just leave the one that you're actually going to use. And then you can leave this as the email that you've been using for everything else, or if it's your personal email, I would recommend setting up one like this, just a free Gmail account at some point. Done. I agree. There we go. And submit for review. Okay, so we got an error. Okay, so it connected the pixel. We can see that there. And it connected the page. Let's see what the error was. Oh, it went away. Okay, perfect. Great. And now we will go back to the pixel and double check that it's been set up properly. So we're just going to refresh. And then we should see the new pixel in here. Here it is. Great. So now I'm going to assign it to myself, which I'm running ads as Meg. Give full permissions, assign. Yay. It's kind of a weird confetti thing. You just like completed the most technical setup and they throw a little party for you. Okay. Next we need. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is create a business asset group. This is basically a folder within the business manager that links everything together. And again, once we set this up, it's the last time you need to touch any of this, but we just go up here, click add, create, and we click separate brands or lines of business, Slice Club asset group. We don't need that. Create. Then we add the assets. So choose the page, then the ad account, which it's the one we just created. We don't have a Instagram account yet. That's fine. And catalog. I don't think this synced yet, which is fine. So we'll come back to that later. So we just chose the page, the ad account, and the pixel. Now we're going to assign it to ourselves. Give full access, full access, full access. Assign, done, perfect. Now we go back to the pixel. And if you get hung up on any of these steps, just ChatGPT knows how to do this just as well as I do. So we're going to go to Events Manager, which this is where we're able to change the settings And the only settings we have to change in here is just come down here, turn on automatic advanced matching, track events automatically, and the conversion API gateway, we don't even have to worry about because we are using a direct integration with Shopify. There we go. So now we're in Shopify. Let's go back to Facebook. I already did that. Okay, so it's still loading. Nice. Next, and then just finish. Great. That is all we need to do. So as a final check, and I recommend out of everything we just did, bookmark the business manager. So you have the business manager created, Facebook page is live with a logo, cover photo, bonus points if you create the first post, your pixels installed. And again, you saw I had a couple of errors that popped up. Just be patient with it. Sometimes, especially depending if you've never run ads before, it'll take a little bit longer or shorter to get approved. And ChatGPT can help with this a ton. And the Shopify catalog synced, we are going to come back to that in the next lesson. And as a free resource, we have a meta setup checklist that you can follow along. It covers everything that we just went through. But congratulations, you are now officially ready to place billboards that aren't just going to be seen by a single highway, like in our example. They are able to reach anybody anywhere in the world who has a phone, laptop, and a Meta account. So literally from your fingertips, which hopefully that's never lost on you. I'm still amazed by it, but it's basically what you just set up. It's really remarkable. And again, questions, ask ChatGPT, Meta support, or you can join a live Q&A call in the accelerator. So now comes the time, super exciting time, when we are about to run our very first ads. So I'm going to show you how we prep our very first campaign, and we're going to get it launched right now. So here's what it's going to look like after we finish prepping our assets to run our mockup test. Because as of right now, you should have 10 different mockups with your 100 designs created. And here's a preview of all the designs that Eric made. These look really good. I love the variety in them. But okay, so we are going to be setting these up because the first time I ever made ads, I was just like a kid in a candy shop and I just jumped in and started making stuff right out of the gate. And I did that for literally years. Instead, we are going to take it just a couple extra minutes right now because I finally learned that clicking the buttons in the ad account is actually the last and least important step. That step is honestly easy once we have all of our assets organized. This is just a good best practice to keep in mind going forward. Think of it like you're making a meal. Gathering the ingredients, putting the dish together, etc. That's like 90% of the effort. Knowing what you're going to make, all of that. That's Meg's favorite part. She's like, I love actually making it, but deciding what to make, like, I wish ChatGPT would outsource that for me. She's an incredible cook. Like, she can just go in and just throw random stuff together. Meanwhile, I can barely make a PB&J. Anyways, putting it in the oven is actually just the last 10%. It's like the final mile. So just our mindset for this is get everything organized, and then the ad account is just the very last step. So these extra couple minutes right now make things so much easier once we start running the ads. So what we're testing first, everybody, we hopefully remember the 3-phase testing strategy. So we are testing the mockups first, and then the designs, and then the store optimization. And the reason why we're doing the mockup, in case it's not clear, this is a really important concept. Like, basically, once this clicks, you see the importance of mockups, and then you know how big of a factor they play in our success. And I say that to empower us because ultimately creating a great mockup just comes down to our ability to receive the feedback well. So if somebody was like a Hollywood casting director was putting together a movie, they would not hire 10 actors and film 10 different scripts and show it to 10 different audiences because they've learned nothing. There's just too many variables in that example. What they do instead is they hire 10 actors, test them all in the same script, same scene, same everything, except for the actor. So they isolate one variable. So now they can clearly see which actor is best for bringing that character to life. And the mockup test works exactly the same way. So we have one variable only, and the one actor we're using is our best design. We're going to see how to pick that in a second. Our proven ad copy and the same scene, meaning the same audience, and we're only testing the mockup style. So the question is, what do we need in order to actually test? Well, here we have a example of Sloth Hiking Club. This is the actual ad that Sloth is running right now. And the different components that we need here are first the page, then the ad copy, then the mockup, then the design, obviously, and then the headline at the bottom. And then finally, the Shop Now button. Now, the good news is that out of all these variables, and this is actually what the ad looks like. So a lot of other companies, they have to create all these fancy ad creatives. We get the luxury of literally just repurposing our same products because we've tested lots of different ad creatives, and these are still, even post Andromeda. Anybody who's curious about that, if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it, but it's Facebook's latest update. Even post Andromeda, we are still seeing these creatives outperform the rest. So that's why we're using it. And so far, we have a good chunk of this done. So we already have the page, which we set up in the previous lesson. We created our mockups. Now we've done our designs, but we just need to pick what's going to be our hero design that we show across all of them. And the Shop Now button never changes. So we need to focus on the ad copy and the headline first. So the question is, what about the ad copy? Well, we've tested tons of different ad copy, and we are just going to jump right to the best performer for us. And then we're not just going to use the same copy exactly. We're going to take the best practices from it and then have our Claude project generate branded copy for us. So we're going to go over to our Claude project, and just in the same chat, we're just going to drop this in. So I'm just remaking Sloth's exact ad copy. And then I'm going to copy in this prompt, which you can find this down below. Okay. And we're going to paste. Great. So now it generated copy for us. I realized I didn't give it the actual URL. Our URL is sliceclub.co. Keep the first line short enough that it only takes up one line. It shouldn't go on to the next line. And this is Facebook ad copy. So use the character limit for that and put a second emoji at the end of the first line. There we go. So here's really good ad copy. So golfers who slice, this one's for you. And I like it because it quickly addresses the niche and it has like a funny play on words or a golfer joke, which is nice. And then have an emoji at the beginning and an emoji at the end. But do not use generic emojis like the dreaded star, like this thing. We just want to use things that are on brand. And if you're not sure which ones to use, one, it picks them out for you. But I personally like using emojis that kind of grab attention and having a supporting one. And then the second line, this is where we have the discount or basically the reason to shop now. And there's lots of different offers that we can run. This is just a good, like we set the compare app price to be basically 30% higher, 35% higher than the actual price. So it's always on sale. And then on the final line, we just say shop now. It's the call to action. So it goes attention grabber. Second line is like the reason that they have to buy right now, that they can't keep scrolling. And then the final line is the call to action with a link. And we specifically use the sale link rather than the full URL. Like if we go to sliceclub.co and then we would go to catalog, see how this is the full URL. We don't use that because that takes up too much space. So we keep it short. And we're going to be reviewing how to set that up again, in case you don't already know. But for now, I'm just going to pick my favorite ad copy. I like a combination of this one and that line. So I go Command-Shift-V. And then for my first ad, I'm going to go without a discount just to make sure that we warm up the ad account and that because basically what Facebook's looking for is people that are running like 90% off, like just fire sale type stuff. And 35% shouldn't get us flagged for anything, but just to keep it as safe as possible for the first ad, I recommend running it without it. So now we have our ad copy. And a good thing to keep in mind is that as we're doing this, I'm explaining lightly like how it works, but in all reality, we just use what Claude generates for us nowadays. Like there's tons and tons of books, but this is the ad copy that's worked the best. And after the ad copy, we also need the piece that we see at the bottom here, which is the headline. So in this case, it's a catalog ad, so it's just the name of the product. But I'm going to set up ad copy for the mockup test specifically. So I'm just going to prompt and say, I'm using this one. Now write me a headline that says something to the effect of new golf t-shirt collection. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the shortest one using this one. Now rewrite both and remember for the future. Perfect. All right. So now we have our ad copy and our headline, and you can always tweak this later, but now the next step is we need to pick which design we're going to use. This is an exciting step because this is where we are, we have our 10 mockups. Let's see the ones we have for golf. Yeah, for slice. I personally like the ones with the green background, but I like the variety that we have. Eric did a great job on these because the shirt it hits almost near the edges. Tried to minimize the number of wrinkles. There's very few supporting objects, and all of them look photorealistic. So we're checking all the boxes here. I hope we have a Gemini logo on that one. I'd have to take that off. But in general, what I'm looking for now is we could, run a test with every one of these designs on it. But that would be so many different ads to make. So what we want to do is instead pick the design that we think is the best. Now, this is where it can get a little dicey because we don't want to be just subjective and just pick our personal favorite. We want to pick the hero product that is based off of the one that basically we did the most research on. So we're putting this across all of the mockups, and the way we recommend doing it is coming up with your 10 favorites based off research. Ideally includes typography. We surveyed people that have done in the accelerator, out of the people who have done 10K plus in sales, their top selling products, it was like 50% said it was all typography, which would be like this kind of design. That's all typography based. And then the other 50% said that it was typography plus graphic. So that would be like this one where there's words and then a graphic along with it. Almost nobody said that their bestseller was just graphic alone, which for graphic alone, we're looking at things like on seasonal collections like this. So it works for some niches, but by and large, the best practice and the way to expedite this whole testing scenario is to go with a typography one. And bonus points if it's based on humor because that resonates. Like our goal of these ads is that we pick designs that when somebody sees it, they feel something. Easiest way to communicate that or make somebody feel something is with words. And monocolor, so not a overdone design, meaning I wouldn't go with, and this is not really as much of an issue anymore, but some designs just have like way, let's see if we have any. Some designs just have way too much, like this one, open your mind, fix your swing. Some people might like it, but see how there's just so many like colors. Like it's just, there's a lot going on. The best performers, again, we're just basing this pick off of best practices, typography or typography plus graphic, and as few colors as possible. And will look really good on the mockups. So now we're going to narrow it down to 10, and then we're going to upload it into the design GPT and ask it which one it thinks is the best. So the way I'm going to do this is by, you can either look at it on your site or you can scroll through here. And I'm just going to go for the ones that I think are the funniest. Out of office. There we go. Okay. And to make this faster, I'm just going to pull up ChatGPT as I'm doing it and then just drop them right in here. Keep the tabs nice and clean. All right, let's do it. So screenshot that. And I'm not going to pick any that are related to like cigars or smoking or anything. Those are good to just steer away from. You can advertise them, but I recommend doing it later on. This one's funny. After you've warmed up your account. I like this one. Just speed this up by making it a separate view. Okay. That one's okay. Till death do us par. Like that. As it's simple. It's not quite monocolor, but it's close enough. Weekend Warrior. That could be a good one, but it's got a ton of colors going on. So I'm going to leave it. World's okayest golfer. I like this one a lot. As it's simple. It's to the point. It's got humor. Okay, let's go back up to the top. Let's see. Bogey Boys. I'm here for the Cart Girl. That's funny, but not the first ad I want to run. Here we go. This is a good one. These clean typography styles are a great one to go with. As the way I view it is designs that have a ton of colors. The more colors, it's really like, unless if it's used really well, it's really just giving people more reasons not to click. Is we got to keep in mind, we're not just going for the thing that looks the best here on the screen. We're going for the thing that people will want to have, 6 inches beneath their chin, 12 hours out of the day. So, and if somebody is putting this on their shirt, it's basically going to draw a ton of attention to themselves. Some people are, looking for that, but it rules out a lot more people than it speaks to, opposed to somebody who wears something super colorful. It's very unlikely that they have a hard rule in their mind that they won't wear something that's monocolor. So it goes one way, but not the other. Okay, let's just start looking through these. Okay. This one's funny. Okay, a couple more. That's a cool design, but again, too many colors. I would like this one, but it mentions alcohol. Yeah, this is good. Okay. We could do a couple more, but I like the options we have. Now I want to tell it, out of the designs that I've just uploaded, I want you to evaluate which ones would be best for running a mock-up test on our golf-inspired brand, Slice Club. The goal of the mock-up test is basically I want you to pick the most research-backed design based on best-selling print-on-demand trends, which design you think is going to have the best chance of success. Now, obviously, you don't have to write the prompts like that, but let's see what it comes back with. Honestly, using Whisper has changed a lot. It's like typing is a thing of the past. There we go. Swing, swear, repeat. We got the winner. So it said it's text first golf humor in the #1 POD golf seller category. Text first golf humor is the #1 POD golf seller category. All right. Honestly, we could pretty much stop there. And then it goes on to say some of the colors that it works well on, but that's awesome. So now that you have it pick the best one, now we need to place the winning design on each of the mockups in Canva. So I'm going to come over to, first I'm going to download this file, then go over to Canva and upload. Whoops. Upload files. So now we want to place it across. We upload the design into Canva. It's an upscale design with the background already removed, as you can see. And now we want to place it across our different mockups. And what you'll notice is that this design, it looks good on some of the colors, but it doesn't look great on all of them. So we're going to have a little bit of light editing to do. Yeah, we have a bunch of dark colors. So I'm going to copy this onto the ones where it looks good. There we go. That looks great. No, doesn't look good on any of the navies. Okay, so now what we're going to do. Okay, so I tried changing the text to be a white design using Canva, and it worked really well. As you can see, this is perfect. We're now ready to move forward. No, that is terrible. So let's see if Gemini does any better. Perfect. That is so much better. All right, so now we download full size. So I just used Gemini, and then I also fired off GPT, see which one comes back with a better output. But honestly, the Gemini one looks really good. So as long as we're able to remove the background on this effectively, then we should be in good shape. Perfect. Nice. So we just remove the background. Now we delete this one. I actually just want to match it up to the placement we did here. Perfect. Now I come back up here. And that's a little bright, so I might lower it just slightly. See how like that just really jumps off? It kind of looks a little photoshopped. There we go. And if you have any mock-ups where you have wrinkles in the center like that, one, I would recommend just keeping them all like as wrinkle-free as possible. Like you can see here, there's not really any wrinkles on that. But like for this one, you could just take this over into, I don't think this one's going to be the winner anyway, but you could just take this over into Nano Banana and ask it to smooth out the lines there. Okay. I think that looks really good. Nice, just placing them on everywhere. And then I'm just slightly, since some of the mock-ups, the shirt's in a slightly different spot. They're pretty similar, but I just want to center it up so that it's directly under the neckline and then not like the first like 100 designs I ever uploaded, I put them like down here. I was like, oh, it should be centered. No, you want it to be like, just go look at any graphic t-shirt you own where they print it. It's normally about here. I just realized, I think we have repeats. Oh, no, we just have different colors. All right. Now I'm going to rename these and then just copy the name to go through it a little bit faster. Nice. Okay. So now I have my hero product placed across, or my hero design rather, placed across all of the mockups. Now we say to do 10 if you like a different color, like navy is the best practice, as Eric talked about. But a couple of additional things you could do is take the time, like on any of the designs where like there's wrinkles, just take it over to Nano Banana and that make sure to smooth those out. But we have plenty of variations, so I'm not going to take the time now. This is a really good looking design on black shirt. And don't get too hung up on the placements. Like these aren't all perfect. We're just testing in broad strokes right now. Awesome. All right. So now we are downloading. Download, leave all the settings the same. We're downloading all 14 of them. And the reason we took the extra time to rename it is so that then it makes it easier. Like they'll all save or download with those names already saved in. There we go. And move this to our golf brand folder. And then open up the mockups. Perfect. I'm going to say mockup test. Beautiful. Now we have it all nice and organized. Now, we want to do a quick final quality check on our mockups. So, we want to take a quick look at them and compare to the proven examples that we did in our research to make sure that we're really close to what was best practice and that we're not just skipping over like the fixes that we should be doing, because it's much better, like I said at the beginning, to do these, knock them out now before we actually do the test. And so, to take a quick look at our mockups, like what I'm really looking for is, do we have too many objects? Here's the best check. When you look at it, where do your eyes jump to first? It should be the design here in the center. Anybody who has, and I've seen this a lot, like people will sometimes have like too many objects up here, too many things here. The shirt doesn't really look photorealistic. Basically, your eyes are drawn everywhere else besides the design. So we want the eyes to be drawn to the design, and then the shirt, and then the objects should just act as like a nice buffer at the end. It shouldn't at all be like our eyes are drawn to that. And the mockups we're looking at here, these are just examples. There are a million different ways to make great mockups, and especially with the AI tools now. Like on the first course we did, Meg, in her example, she had a red flower down here, and she mentioned how it was good to have a red object because it draws attention. Then everybody had a mockup with a red object here, which was kind of funny. So I just want to highlight that these are examples, but make your own mockup. Make it your brand, 2 to 3 objects max, and have fun with it. And just like that, we now have the building blocks. We have the ad copy. We have our mockup already prepared with the hero design placed on it. And we have our building blocks to launch our first campaign. So we're going to do that by applying all the best practices that we've learned from working with thousands of students. So we're jumping right to the ideal campaign structure, which ultimately gets us closer to our first $1,000 in sales. Not a financial guarantee, but that is what we are working towards right now. So without further ado, let's launch. And here's what our finished mockup test is going to look like within the next couple of minutes as we are making our first ads go live. So it's now officially live and gathering data for us, and we're scheduling it to spend $50 this weekend. So now we're going to set up yours. And as we're about to launch, I want you to keep in mind one important thing, that out of all of the different buttons and options you see in the ads manager, there's only 3 actions we ever take in the ad account. And the goal of sharing this is just to simplify everything that you're looking at. And those 3 actions are: first, we make ads. Sounds pretty obvious, right? Second, we pause ads. Third, we adjust budgets. So we're either making something, turning it off, or adjusting the amount that we're spending on it. That's it. So we already know what our budget is. We talked about this earlier. Now we just have to make the ads, and we're making them inside of our ad account. And to give you a quick rundown of what's going on inside the ad account, this metaphor really helps solidify things for myself. Is there's these things called campaigns at the top. And then you see there's ad sets, and then there's ads. So what's the difference? Sound like they all might be kind of related, and they are, but it's honestly way easier when you picture it like this. Your ad account is just a tree, and at the root, you have campaigns. The branches are the ad sets, and then the individual ads are the leaves. Meaning we have a campaign, we have ad sets within the campaign, and then we have ads. The good news, you're seeing a lot of different ads here, a lot of ad sets. Our setup is even simpler than this, that you're going to see in a second. But the thing to know about this is that there are different settings we can adjust in each. So at the campaign level, that's where we set the objective. So telling Facebook that we want to get purchases. Then at the ad set level, that's where we choose our targeting, who we want to show our ad to, and where we want to show that ad, like on Facebook, on Instagram, that kind of thing. And then at the ad level, that's where we are uploading the image and the ad copy that we want to actually run on our ad. So now let's set it up for ourselves. So in a brand new ad account, Slice Club, let's do it. So first thing we're going to do is come up here, click create. And as you just saw, I got a message that I need to verify the ad account. That's very normal. You're likely going to get a similar pop-up, especially if it's the first time you ever run ads. or when I click the link, it brings us to the account overview. So all that I have to do here is add payment method. And then I'm going to set my time zone. Let me first double check that I believe that's right. Maybe just do Chicago. There we go. Next. So add payment method, then next. Now you're just going to enter your credit card information. All right. So now we've entered our payment information and we're going to go back to our campaign setup. Perfect. All right. So now we're going to click create. Oh, still says account info needed. There we go. Okay. So now we should be good to go. And rather than clicking the button there, I want us to do it from the right place. So now we're going to do create, we're going to do sales objective, continue. Now we're going to name our campaign mockup test. And we're going to turn off Advantage Plus catalog ads. Going to use ad set budget, turn that off. And really important to note as we're going through this, Facebook loves to change the UI, the user interface, the buttons that you're seeing, the text. They are updating things almost week to week. At the time you're watching this, you see slightly different options here. It's all good. Like it does not mean that what we're showing, like we're just using the fundamentals. The things that we're showing are always going to be available. I shouldn't say always. Maybe they'll change it at some point, but you will definitely be able to launch ads following a similar setup. The way that if it looks completely different for whatever reason, just take a screenshot of the change that I make. This is if you're not able to find a button, take a screenshot of the change that I just made, and then take a screenshot of your ad account or your campaign and drop it into ChatGPT or the WeScale GPT that's available in the free community that's been trained on the whole course, and ask it to troubleshoot or like help you find the button. Okay, so we don't have to worry about A/B testing. None of this down here. We're not doing special ad categories. Great. Now we choose our conversion location. We set it to website and we set it to maximum number of conversions. And the conversion event that we're aiming for is purchase. But we haven't placed any orders on the site yet. So you're probably going to get this error message, but that doesn't matter because as soon as a purchase comes in, we'll be in good shape. Then value rules, leave no. Cost per result, don't worry about any of that. Like 90% of the options in any of the tools that we're looking at, you don't actually need to use. Then down here is audience. And audience, we just use open targeting and we use open placements. They call it Advantage Plus, fancy name for a pretty mundane topic, but we just leave it as United States targeting and minimum age 18 plus. So it's literally targeting everybody. We'll talk more about why we're doing that in a second. Test number 1. There we go. And we click next. Mockup number 1. So now we are naming our ad, and now we're just going to go through each of the settings. And by the end of doing this, we're going to have our first ad set up. So, and we're just going to be basically plopping in the creatives and the ad copy that we already wrote. Just going right down the list here. So it's giving us an error saying that we don't have an Instagram account connected. That's actually okay because we're able to just run ads to Instagram and Facebook from one page. We can set up the Instagram account later on, but it's honestly much less important than you might think because we're not aiming to grow a organic following yet. Our goal is just to create the accounts that we need in order to place billboards with the company. So we're going to leave that, and the error message should be going away. Facebook sometimes glitches and they'll continue showing an error even after it's been resolved. So if we encounter that when we go to publish, we'll address it then. Next up, we have the ad setup. This is where the magic happens. So create ad. We're going to be doing manual and single image. And we're going to turn off multi-advertiser. And then for website, we are going to enter. The easiest way to do this, I've found, is just go to the site and grab the exact URL. And we are driving traffic to the collection page. And here we use the whole URL. In the ad copy is where we use the shortened version. And see, it's already starting to try to pull in our creatives, which is pretty cool. Now we come down here And we're going to turn off personalized destinations or make sure that it's off, which it is. Now we're going to set up the creative. This is where Facebook loves to change things around. They like adding lots of new settings. So I just want you to follow along closely with what we're doing. We're just trying to upload the image. That's it. And the ad copy. And they try to push all these new AI features on us. At the time of recording this, we don't use hardly any of the AI enhancements that as they call them. So we're just going to follow along and do exactly as I do. So we skip promotions. Don't worry about anything with the branding. Site links, we want to turn this off. Products, we also want to turn this off. We can leave the description and then delete all of these selling points. There we go. So now I click upload and we're going to go to our folder that had all of the mockups in it. And we're just going to upload all of them to make things simple. So we choose our first mockup and click next. And then for the cropping, just leave it for original for all of them. Then next. Now here's where we use our ad copy that we wrote. So we're going to go back to Claude where we left it all nice and neat, ready for us. Place it in there. And now, yeah, here's where it's going to give us all these variations. Just turn that off. And then grab the headline. And then for description, this is what goes right above or right below the headline rather. So a couple of things you can write here, printed in the, and then like American flag, that looks good. Or 30-day guarantee, 30-day happiness guarantee. The goal of this, like the purpose of the creative is to stop people from scrolling. The purpose of the headline is to give them a short, succinct idea of what this ad is about. And then the purpose of the ad copy is to get them to click. And as they go down to click, they see the link description right next to the button. So this is just how do we seal the deal right as they're, evaluating whether they want to click or not. So it's show social proof, a guarantee, something like that. So I'm just going to do 30-day guarantee. Once you have reviews or once you have any sales, I recommend switching to this, like 100 teas sold, that kind of thing. But until you do, just 30-day guarantee works fine. Actually, we could do the stars. Okay, and then once we click next, we now see one of Meta's additional AI features where it's generating variations for us. Now, we're not going to use any of these because we already have our mockups, but the cool thing is that these designs or the creatives they made used to be just terrible, and they've gotten so much better over time. Like a couple of these wouldn't be a bad mockup to go with. Obviously, this one has like tons of extra golf balls. That's kind of weird. We don't want a person in ours. That dude does not skip leg day. Good for him. But something like that wouldn't be bad. But anyway, we already have our media. Now, all of these enhancements, we just want to make sure that they are all turned off. Add animation. Nope. All you need to know about these enhancements, the reason we're turning them off is that I think at some point they'll be really effective, but until then, we just leave them off. And now we've entered all of our information. We can see a preview of the ad on the right, which what was the thing that we said about the ad copy is that we want it to be on one line, just like we saw in the sloth example. So you can see here see how it's taking up multiple lines, and this even took up multiple lines down here. So we have a little bit of cleanup to do. And now after we did the creative setup, it now brought it out here for us. So I need to cut that down to be one line. And then I also need to cut down this somehow. Oh, no. Yeah, it went down to one line. Yeah, great. That logo looks really good. Like I'm not patting myself on the back. It looks good in the feed. It's like really stands out and looks clean. Okay, now new golf t-shirts. Let's put our marketing hat on, make new stand out. And then I kind of like, there we go. Now, just before I hit publish, I want to test this URL out and make sure that we have it set up. And if we don't, then we're going to set up. Oh, yep, we don't. Okay, so here's how we set up the URL redirect. So from our Shopify account, we're going to come up here to content, menus, and then URL redirects, and then create URL redirect. And now what we have here is this is basically setting up our /sale to go to the main collection. So first thing I'm going to get is the URL for the main collection, which is this right here. And we want it to redirect to, whoops, I did that in the wrong order. So when somebody lands on that page, it's going to send them to that automatically. Now let's test it out. Beautiful. Site's looking really clean. All right, so now we know it works. So we tested that. We see the ad preview, everything's on one line. And now we have the big moment, the big reveal. We hit publish, no error messages. Now it's prompting. Your local tax agency has required us to collect some additional info about your business. Please provide the info below. There we go. So I just submitted our business info. And if you don't have a business yet, then you can just use your personal name. Okay, we just got another error. Okay, so this did not go away. Use Facebook page should be working. See, this is live. We're building it for real. So from our business manager settings, we're going to come down here to accounts and then Instagram accounts and then click add. It's going to ask you to confirm and then say add Instagram account. Okay, it keeps giving me an error. This could be that I'm using a VPN. It's not even loading. If I just go to Instagram. All right, Instagram's having some weird issues. So here's what we're going to do. And the good news is that when we run ads, normally 70 to 80% of our traffic is coming from Facebook and not Instagram itself. So for the sake of these initial tests, I'm just going to turn off Instagram. But what I would normally recommend doing is you go on your phone, you create a new Instagram account, and you turn it into a professional account, which is what's required in order to connect it. It's just an option that you change. Then you go through the same setup that we just did for the Facebook page. You just upload a profile picture, you add like a couple of like a description, link your website, and then you're going to come back to the business manager settings, go to Instagram accounts, and then click connect. And then you shouldn't have to do what I'm doing, which is removing Instagram as a option. So come down here to this, click uncheck Instagram. There we go. And now the error should go away. Huh. You kidding? Yeah, it just went away. Okay, well, there's a fun workaround. Fake it out. Pretend like you're going to leave Instagram out in the wind and not use it. And then it magically fixed the error. So there we go. Now publish. Okay, and now what we're going to do is rather than uploading the remaining 10 right now, to warm up the ad account, I recommend waiting until this ad has gone through the approval process. So right now it's in processing. We'll see a short description over here. So pending/processing is that it's being set up, but it's not running yet. Here's processing. The ad is being updated. So this basically means it's in upload processing. Makes sense. Then next, it's going to go to preparing, meaning that it's successfully passed review. And now it's just deciding, it's basically prepping itself to run. And then it'll go to active or learning. Basically, I'm just going to keep hitting refresh, waiting for it to get out of processing. And then once it does, then I'm going to upload the remaining mockups. Just as a side note, the first time you upload your very first ad, it's likely going to take a little bit longer. And yeah, there we go. Now it's in review. Here's a preview of our ad. Okay, so while that's in review, I'm going to show us how we can set up the rest of our mockups really fast, not taking nearly as long as the ones we just did. So I'm just going to click, basically we just need to create copies of this and then we're going to swap out the picture. So come here, click duplicate, or you can do it up here. Quick reference, you're able to use these options up here. Is basically, these are basically bulk tools. But so there's multiple ways to do things inside the ad account. So duplicate your ad, click continue, leave these options the same. And then I'm just going to do 4 right now. So I'll launch 5 in total. Then you can turn off show existing reactions, comments. Well, it doesn't really matter because we're going to change the ad anyway. And now come here. So I use these options like going back and forth faster than I notice a lot of people their first time in the ad account, they click like here and here. So just in the interest of speed, I click across here way more often. And it took me a while to learn the ins and outs of the ad account. Like I remember we used to run like hundreds of ads at a time. Like the algorithm changed that used to have to do that. There we go. We just got approved. Active. Nice. Anyway, quick side quest story. So we would launch hundreds of ads, and anytime I would want to make changes, I would come in and click all of the buttons. And I remember one of my roommates when I lived in the e-commerce house, the incubator, if you will. He was looking over my shoulder and he said, "Why don't you just shift click?" I looked at him like he had 3 heads, and I was like, "What do you mean?" And I had been clicking and clicking and clicking, and he was like, "What are you doing? Just go like this." So click the first one, then shift click. My mind was blown, which is not even a like meta specific thing. That's just, I don't know, I guess knowing how to use a computer, which I did not. Anyways, now shift click, get all of them. Before we swap out the pictures, I like changing the name, so then that makes it easier to match up the ad. So save, and now we edit. Come down here, and where is creative? Here we go. Perfect. So now we can do it in bulk. So for mockup 2, I'm going to select mockup 2, mockup 3, mockup 4, mockup 5. Beautiful. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to schedule it. So I'm going to set a end date for this first campaign. We're just letting it run through to Sunday. So I'm going to do Sunday at 11:55. There we go. So we want to schedule this to start on Thursday and run through Sunday. So it'll literally turn off on its own. You can do that in the ad set settings, but you're just not able to change start date after you've already published it. So just going to leave it there. All right, now we can see the other versions of the mockup, and I'm just doing 5 at a time. It's safer in the beginning with a new account to basically just piecemeal it, to not launch 100 ads or even 10 ads at a time. We're basically building the relationship with Facebook. We want to show them that, we're a good advertiser and we're not here to scam anybody. Which, if you're wondering, like, why is this such like a focus? Like, why is there a risk even of getting banned on Facebook? It's because they have so many advertisers that in order to like that, it would be an inhuman task to possibly monitor every single ad that's being launched. So they have basically algorithms that watch for traits of scammers, and sometimes they incorrectly flag accounts. One of those traits, if you put yourself in the mind of a scammer, somebody who just wants to make a quick buck, doesn't really care about morals or ethics, what would you do? You would have a store that has products listed on it that you're not actually planning on fulfilling. And as being the scammer, that it's unlikely that your account is going to stay up long. So you would just try to make the most of it while you can. And you try to just launch a ton of ads before Facebook can catch you. So now Facebook caught on to that. And now they flag people for It's highly unlikely it would happen for launching 10 ads, but if this is your first time ever running ads on the account, then it's a good idea. Then we're going to click review and publish, and there we go. Then it goes into processing and goes through the same routine that we just saw it go through. So in general, I'm really happy with the mockups we just launched and how everything came together because it really stands out in the feed, and like the logo looks great. The emojis at the beginning and the end, it's not cluttered up at all. We have the shop now button, we have the URL, the stars at the bottom in the link description look really nice. And seeing this does not mean copy this. Like that does not help you and it doesn't help anybody. We want to take the principles here of like a great mockup, simple headline, that sort of thing. Now we see, yeah, it's processing. And so we're launching this for a Friday to Sunday test or Thursday to Sunday, like Thursday morning. So we are running it over the weekend because when are most people scrolling on Facebook and Instagram? It's over the weekend when they're not at their job, or Thursday, Friday when they're tired of their job. So there's a lot more people that we can hit, which means cheaper ad costs. And then the inverse is true for Mondays and Tuesdays. Everybody's back in the office, they're focused for the week, less people scrolling. So therefore, worse ad performance. We still run ads on those days, but when we're testing, we just want to be to keep our budget as low as possible. We have basically we go for the cream of the crop, the best times to be running ads. And the way that we were doing our targeting, as you just saw, is we just do United States open targeting, open to everybody, and let Facebook find your audience for you. But the common question when it comes to this is, well, don't I have to tell Facebook who my audience is? And here's the thing. Here's to put this out of your mind entirely. Like, yes, there are the options to target golfers specifically. We don't have to do any of that because the way that Facebook works is they have a massive data set of all of their users. This is just conceptual so we can understand basically what's working in our favor. Its job is to look at all the people that click on your ad and then see what happens when it sends them into our funnel. Meaning they get out of all the people that we send, which people actually converted. And so it sees the traits of the people that we sent in, and then it takes note of that. And then it looks at the traits of the people who actually converted, so people who purchased, and takes note of that. And then it knows from those people, and this is how the pixel is working. That's why we set this up. It then knows to go back to its giant audience of people and look for people that are similar to the ones that converted. So it's basically pattern recognition. And then it learns over time way faster than any manual targeting ever could. Because Facebook's AI is now way smarter than manual targeting. So we can trust the algorithm. It is very, very good. And our pixel over time is going to find buyers automatically. And for placements, we do the same thing. It's a Advantage Plus open, meaning we're not specifying because this includes Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds, and we let the algorithm decide because it knows where your audience is. And so reviewing your ad set, you want to make sure that it was set up for purchase conversions. So I'm going to show this. Is nice. All the ads got approved. Beautiful. So in reviewing your ad set, the most important thing is making sure that it is set for purchases and not for content or view content or traffic. If you accidentally chose traffic, then just duplicate this. You're not able to change it after it's published. Just duplicate it and then remake it. But it has to be optimized for purchases because just like the algorithm is really good at finding people that purchase, it's also really good at finding people who will just click on things and not actually do anything with it. So we want to make sure that we're sending the right kind of traffic. And so what we just set up is we have a budget of $12.50 a day, going to spend $50 over the next 4 days. And we set the objective to purchase broad US. And congrats, your first campaign is now live. And of course, I only published the 5 just for the sake of example, but we want to launch all 10. Yeah. And we can see it's scheduled to end. Now, what happens next is Facebook reviews the ads, as we already saw. And the first time you do this, it could take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. You might see the verification prompt that we already went through, and you just fill out the information, then you should be ready to run. And if you're anything like me, I was super anxious, very excited, launching my first campaign, and it felt a lot like Christmas Eve. Like this is the coming to fruition moment, I thought, It's like, this is a huge deal. So I checked mine constantly. I was refreshing like every hour, just waiting for purchases to come flooding in. We just want to keep in mind that that is not the goal of what we are doing here. We are working like a mechanic, the three-phase optimization strategy that we go through. We first dial in the mockup, then the designs, then the store, and then the conversions start rolling in. So tweaking one thing at a time, then the sales come. And also, Facebook needs time in order to gather data. So what we don't want to do while this test is running is turn it off after 6 hours or change ad copy or any other variables or increase the budgets because we're going to cover when and why we increase the budgets. But for now, $12.50 a day is all you need, $50 over a weekend. And you definitely don't need to be checking Ads Manager every hour. So you can just think of it if you're at all nervous. Hopefully you're not. But I know the first time that I did, I was like, I hope this goes well. Just think of it like jumping off a diving board. You've seen others do it, but you're still worried. What if I belly flop? What if I look silly? Well, there's two options in that scenario. And the same thing is true here. Option one, you can stand there for 20 minutes thinking about every possibility, every way it could go wrong. Or option two, just have a half second of courage and then you're in the water and you realize that it's not the moment that you build it up to be in your head. And it wasn't until my third or fourth brand that I realized that launching ads only felt like a big deal, but it really isn't. It's just the next logical step in the process we're following. And I was prepared for this just like you have. Honestly, you are way better prepared than I ever was. I launched my first campaign with probably 5 designs on the site, a bunch of different random product types, no clear branding, hadn't done research, had no like my logo was just a jumbled mess. So you've done everything that you can with the information you have up until this point just by following the steps. So let's do that. You launched your campaign. It's now live. Facebook is showing it to real people, which is awesome. Like bringing it all back to at the end of the day, we use these online tools, but it's real people on the other side of the brands that we're building. So real humans on the other side, even some potential customers, and our business has officially started. And before we get to the point of trying to optimize for getting conversions, let's first see the results of our mockup test. Now we're going to be reviewing the results of our mockup test to find which mockup, if any, are going to turn into our winner. And once we find that, our site is going to turn into something like this here, where the same theme that you set up with Meg a couple of lessons ago is now a full bona fide brand because it has our high quality branded mockup. Now, this mockup just overall elevates the overall perceived value of the brand and obviously the products themselves. So it's a really important step. That's why we're taking the time now to review the data properly before moving forward. So by running this mockup test, I just identified our winner using the data, exactly like you're about to be doing. And the simplest way to think about this is not like a mockup test at all. Just think of it as we are reviewing the results of an election. So 10 candidates were entered to run, and the people have voted. They cast their ballot, and now our job is simply to count which candidates, our mockups, got the most votes and at the cheapest cost because we're isolating variables. So our opinions and anything else doesn't matter. We're simply getting data. And so the time that we're reviewing this is Monday morning. Our ads are now paused, and we should have spent about $50 in total. And what we're looking for is which mockups got the most link clicks. That's what we're counting as votes from our audience, and ideally ones that got less than $1 cost per click. And so I'm going to first show you an example of how I'm reviewing our data, and then you're going to follow along and do it yourself afterwards. But for now, just focus on what I'm about to show you inside of the ad account. So in the ad account, the first thing we want to do is simplify all of the columns that we have. Facebook gives you a lot of different numbers by default, and most of them we don't need to be concerning ourselves with. So instead of using that, we're going to set up our own. So we go to customize columns, and then down the right-hand side, you're going to see a long list of metrics. We can just delete all of these. Delete, delete, delete. Perfect. And now we're going to come up here and search for link clicks, cost per click, purchases, ROAS, and then amount spent. Should be up here, and our budget. There we go. And then you're going to click Save as Column Preset. I already did this, so I have to add the number 3, but You can just name it WeScale for easy reference, then click save. And then for bonus points, you can also bookmark this page so that anytime you come back to it, you're going to jump right to this column view, because this is how we look at our metrics on a day-to-day basis. We never have to go back to any of the other views. And so the main number that we're looking at here is CPC, which stands for cost per link click. And a quick note in the setup is that you want to make sure that you don't use the wrong CPC. CPC all, that includes people who click on the profile picture or your page, which we don't count that. We just want people who clicked the shop now button or the link in the ad copy. So just double check that you have that. So cost per link click, what it's telling us is the amount that we pay for each session to our site. And to use our store example, the way you would calculate this is, say we paid $100 to that billboard company and 100 people ended up coming into our store. Well, $100 spent for 100 people, that would be a dollar cost per click. And the reason that it matters is that this is top of funnel. Like, our first order of business is getting people into the store, and so that we can eventually turn them into customers. And the simple formula for this, not that you need to know it, it already says it in your dashboard exactly what the number is, but it's just if you take ad spend divided by number of link clicks. So you can see here in this account, we spent $1.67 for one link click, so that's pretty easy math. $0.67 cost per click. And the reason that we're looking for 5 clicks specifically, because 1 to 3 is not statistically significant. Like, it could be an errant, click. We want to get enough confidence that enough people clicked on this that we can really count on the results to hold true, essentially. And for the amount that we're spending, $12.50, 5 is a pretty good amount to start off with. Now, obviously, if we wanted to be super safe, we could let this run up to 100 clicks. And based on what your budget is, you can certainly do that if you want to be really safe. Like, if you want to let it run up to 100 clicks, you can certainly do that. But from our experience working with students, around 5 clicks is all that we need. And the second thing we're looking for is mockups that had less than $1 cost per click. So 5 clicks, less than $1. Why $1? Why not $10? Why not 10 cents? This is the beauty of having the community behind us, because we're able to see across everybody's stores basically what are the benchmarks that we're shooting for. So we're able to look at industry benchmarks, like what the average cost per acquisition is, the average cost per click. We're able to see all these things because we've seen across hundreds of stores, and the average store that is scaling and doing $10,000 plus is around 40 to 60 cents. And that's after their design test, which we're about to get to. But from their mockup test, anything under $1 typically turns into a winner. So now we're going to jump into the ad account and see how to review our mockup test results. Now, for Slice, at the time of recording this, I did not have time to let it run the full weekend. As you can see, we have only spent $1.73. But good news is that's also why we have our 2 case study stores that we can refer to. So for this example, we're going to be looking at our 0 to 7 figure brand, which in the past 365 days generated $1.7 million in revenue. And in the past 30 days, has generated $438,000. Now, full disclaimer, this is during Q4, and I've been doing this for a long time, so that's why the results are the way that they are. And we're going to be looking at the mockup test that we just recently ran for this brand, as we started this back in 23, and over time, mockup styles come in and out of fashion, so we decided that it was time for a revamp. Now, that doesn't normally happen for at least a couple of years, so you don't have to worry about it, but that's the results that we're going to be looking at together. So here we are inside the ad account for our 0 to 7 figure brand, and we're looking at the mockup test. So again, the mockup test ad set is where we have our ads inside of it. So we can see the ad sets here. Now we're going to click over to the ads. And the first thing we want to do is sort by number of link clicks. And with the simplified dashboard, this becomes super straightforward to be able to find. So instead of having, what do we have here? 6 mockups, we launched 10 in our ad set together. So don't worry about the specific. So that's a prime example of how there's no one size fits all. Like, you can have 5 ad set, you can have 5 ads in an ad set, you can have 10. But in this example, we sort by number of link clicks. And now what we're looking for is which mockups got the most link clicks. So we can see right off the bat, this one spent $28 and got 21 link clicks. This one got 2 link clicks, and these down here got barely any spend at all. Now, we might be asking, what the heck? I worked hard on those mockups. Why didn't they get any budget? it doesn't matter. That's Facebook's job. It's not a slot machine. It's the algorithm working to try to identify the best mockup. Now, looking at this, we're looking for something that's over $5 and less than $1 cost per link click. So this one, something that got more than 5 clicks and is under $1 cost per link click. So this one got 21 clicks. It's pretty solid, but the cost per link click is $1.35. So it's still a little too high. Nice bonus points. We did get a purchase, but that's because we'd already optimized the store. This one only got 2 and at $1.50, so we don't care anyway. And these down here got none. So that's basically it. You're sorting by number of link clicks, then you're just going down the list and seeing which ones got 5, and then out of the ones that got 5, did any get under $1 cost per click? And now, in all honesty, out of everybody watching this, maybe 20% of you are looking at a winner right off the bat. You're looking at one that has anywhere from 5 to 10 link clicks and is maybe in the 80 to 90 cent range. But for everybody else who, and I've seen cost per clicks on mockup tests upwards of $5, so nothing is off the table. And do not worry about it if your results are above what we're aiming for, because there are steps that we follow and it is completely to be expected. Again, we are working like a mechanic. We are tweaking one thing at a time. And once we get this cost per click down to under $1, then we're able to start sending floods of traffic to our site. So in our case, we didn't have a winner right off the bat. So what do? We ran another mockup test. So we did the exact same thing all over again. We just launched a second ad set, same setup, do $12.50, schedule it for Thursday to Sunday. And now the question is, what do we put in that mockup test? Well, we just put more mockups. That's it. And we let it run for another Thursday to Sunday cycle. And then we review the results. And this time around, we came way, way closer. Got 78 link clicks on this one at $1.01. That's really close. This one got 8 link clicks. And then from here down, it didn't get enough clicks, so we don't even look at those. And then now we know we're deciding between these two, $1.01, $1.05. So here we have a decision. We're really close, and I would say anything up to $1.10, $1.15 you can get away with. But if it's me, I like rinsing and repeating this until I know that I have a clear winner. So you might have guessed, we went back and we did it again. Mockup test number 3. And keep in mind the budgets that we're setting, we're just trying to get data faster. So that's why we set the slightly higher budget. But $12.50 is all you need to get started. If I was launching a store for the first time, that's all that I would be doing. And then on this third round of mockup tests, we now have our winner. We found one that got 45 link clicks at 98 cents, just squeaked by. I could go an extra mile and do a whole nother round, but at this point, I'm getting to be pretty confident in the results that we're seeing here. But the main point of this is that the one mockup test we launched, it is not an expectation that that one has the winner in it right out of the gate. And I would say like 20, maybe 30% of people, absolute max, are looking at a winner right off the bat. And as we mentioned earlier, it's okay if Facebook did not spend on all of them because it's an algorithm. It's doing its job. So do not get it in your head that, oh, because it didn't spend on, this mockup down here, like this only got $1. Like, how does it know it's not good? AI. It's as far as we need to take it. It's AI. Just trust that it is, because what you could do, say, I really think this one is a winner and I want to force it to spend. I want to force the issue. How could I guarantee that it gets more spend? Well, I could just make a new ad set and put it in its own ad set. All of the budget would be forced to go there because when we set the budget here, that is getting split across all of the ads that's in here. Okay. So imagine if we had an ad set with just one ad, none of these were in here, and it was just this one running, all the budget would go here. Now you can do that, and the only risk of doing it would be about $50. So if you want to play the game, then go ahead. But I'm here to tell you why you don't have to do that, because every time I have, dozens of times, a little stubborn, it never gets any better results than if I just left it alone. Facebook knows what's going to work and what's not. So we are not playing with the slot machine. That's Facebook doing its job, trying to find a winner for us. So at this point, like I said, 10, maybe 20%, we'll be looking at a winner right off the bat. But for the other 90%, let's talk about what do we do for additional testing. So like you saw, just the ad sets in there, I want to go step by step through exactly what we do to get better results the next time. So we're going to run through what I call the optimization checklist. There's also a copy of this and other resources below the lesson in the free community. But the first thing we want to do is look at the mockups and make sure that they match the proven examples and really ask ourselves, did I capture the essence of a winning mockup? Meaning, is it photorealistic? Does the design pop off the screen faster than anything else? Like this is the winning mockup that, again, I've selected since we didn't have time to run the full test. That's why we looked at our store for the example data. But this is a fantastic mockup. I'm only able to say that from looking at 1,000+ mockup tests at this point. The reason this one works, and it's not great for that color shirt specifically, but when we switch to like a white, for example, yeah, this is a great mockup because the background stands out and it has high contrast against the feed. The shirt then grabs your attention. It has nice shadows underneath it. The shadows is really the element that makes it like the photorealistic effect. Like what we used to do on like seasonal collections, these kind of mock-ups have kind of faded out of style where you can tell that this is maybe not completely photo generated, but it's not a realistic picture. So this kind of style used to work really well. Now we're seeing photorealistic is what's performing the best. So we're aiming for something like this, not this. And here's the flower that I mentioned earlier. So you can see how like the shadows just don't quite make it look realistic. It looks like it's just been plopped on the mock-up. And so the design pops off the screen. The shirt is the full size, like it's touching the edges. It's not, tiny in the middle like this. That would be terrible. Here's the final check for it. As soon as somebody gets hit with our ad, we have about a second, if not less than a second, before they've decided if they're going to stay or leave. Because the human brain has an incredible ability to detect even the minor, basically tell if it's fake or not. And the good news, the fastest way to get through this is to just make a great mockup using Nano Banana and just generate a bunch and then put them into the design GPT if you're not sure. Because I know that this may feel like a lot of details, but it's really photorealistic, full t-shirt, filling the whole area, and then minor supporting objects that don't distract. Like when I look at this mockup, like if I scroll down and scroll up, see how where's the first place your eyes fall to? You go right to the design. Opposed to if you have too many objects or bad color contrast, it can be like our eyes go somewhere different. So we're asking ourselves, did I capture the essence of a winning mockup? And the way that we optimize this is we make 10 more mockups. And when you make the 10 new mockups, you want to really challenge yourself, like really put on your objective thinking hat and compare to what you saw working on Etsy, those photorealistic mockups, and then compare to what Eric showed in the training, and then look at yours. And if you're having a hard time identifying the difference between the two, then plop it in the design GPT or ask a friend or family member and say, which one do you like better? Don't tell them which one is yours and get their feedback. Because sometimes just an extra set of eyes on it is all that we need to, see something that we were missing ourselves, especially when it's our work. But the other big thing that we have to address is how do we know that we had a good design? Like maybe I use this design for my mockup test. If it was just a terrible design, I could have 10 of the most gorgeous mockups in the world, check every box, and it's still underperform. So how the heck are we supposed to know the difference between it was the design that underperformed or it was the mockup itself? And the simple truth of it is we don't. Welcome to marketing. Marketing is taking as many of our best shots as possible and then seeing what sticks. So what I recommend doing is whenever I see people struggle at this stage, it always comes down to two things. Either A, the mockup just looks cartoony and like AI generated, even though this was AI generated, but it looks photorealistic. Or two, they just picked a design that was overly colorful, just a bad design in general. And truth be told, I've made way more bad designs than I've ever made good designs in my life. And this is a skill that you're going to build up over time, and it'll start to make more sense the more and more ads you run. That's why we're keeping our testing budget low and investing in our learning. So 2 things to focus on for your next round of mockup tests is photorealism. And I'm repeating this a lot because this is the most important and it's so much simpler than sometimes it's made out to be. Photorealistic, high contrast, t-shirt fills the whole area, good shadows, supporting objects, and a design that is typography based. Typography plus graphic is optional and focuses on a joke or something relatable about the niche and is ideally monocolor. Now, with all that in mind, it is a huge win, regardless of the numbers you're looking at. It is a huge win that you gathered this data. That was the whole goal of the mockup test, is gather data, not sales, not getting the perfect numbers right out of the gate. It's to gather data so we're able to make data-driven decisions. Because so many people, the majority of beginner sellers, myself included, just continue blindly without making calculated improvements, which is exactly what we're walking through here. Again, we are building a machine. So it makes sense that we'd have the opportunity to test multiple times. It's not like a mechanic tries one thing and it works perfectly, especially if he's starting out and in training. He would expect that he's going to take his best shot, get feedback, and then rinse and repeat until he figures it out. So you're just going to continue the testing cycle one more time. And the fastest way to break out of the loop is just test another mockup and just make it better. If you find that, and on average, after choosing a great mockup and great designs, you already know the steps. It sometimes takes a couple of rounds before we really dial it in. And on average, to give a helpful benchmark, we see people have to run this about 3 times. Now, to be clear, I've seen people run it 10 times and they're still looking for the winner. But when you look at their mockup tests from week to week and the designs they're using, they're just basically rerunning the same test. There's not that many changes. There's not that much improvement, basically showing they skipped the important step of looking at the data we got and then seeing if we are needing to make a big change or a tiny change. And that's something I want to cover right now is, say we're looking at, let's go to the first mockup test we ran. All of these mockups, they're wildly different from each other, very similar to the slice ones that we created. They're wildly different. And the reason we did that, and that's what Eric covered as well, is because that gives us an opportunity to narrow in on what's actually working. Because if we start off with things that are like very, very similar to each other, then we don't have a whole lot of room to expand. Opposed to if we start off with things that are very different, and then we see, this one worked, then we iterate around that one. So if you have any mockups that are just around $1, try just lightly tweaking like the layout of that mockup. Maybe tweak the colors, maybe tweak the shadows, maybe test a different design on it. But if you're looking at numbers that are, and to give an example of that, say that this mockup, I got $1.10. I don't need to go and try completely different mockups at that point. I know that I'm pretty close. I know that the design can't be that bad because I wouldn't be getting close to $1. Instead, what I would try is asking myself, how can I clean this up? How can I make it slightly better? So I might move the golf club out of the way a little bit because it's covering up the shirt. So I might move this over there. Maybe I bend the club the other way so it hugs the frame rather than subconsciously directing people off the page. Maybe the glove, I would try cleaning it up and moving that further off and then adding a little logo there. Maybe I think that these T's would actually look a little bit better up there. You just play around with it. And just by dropping this into Nano Banana and asking it to optimize for a photorealistic flat lay print on demand mockup, you're going to get completely different results every time. So that's if we have close to $1. I would say in the $1 to $1.50 range is when you're iterating. But I still launch at least 3 or 4 of the next mockups will be completely different still. About 4 or 5 of them will be iterations. But what if we're looking at like $3, $4, $5 cost per clicks? If you're anything over $3, I would guess that it's something to do with the design. So probably not a great design, probably too many colors, something along those lines. And if you're over $5, then we're just doing completely different mockups, completely different designs, like fresh batch of everything. So the number one loop to not get stuck in here is to hyperfixate on the data outside of just the cost per link click and the number of link clicks. Don't get hung up on it didn't spend on these. Why didn't it spend? Like, I think this one's pretty good. Like, how do I know that it just don't play that game? That's just another form of procrastination, convincing ourselves that, something is against us. It's not. Just look at these numbers, make your decisions based off that. If the cost per click is really high, like $3 to $5, different design, check your ad copy, make sure that everything is on one line, you have simple emojis, you followed the structure that we covered. Then if you're in the $1 to $2 range, then you're in the area where the next round of mockups, you do 10 more. I would keep the same design. You should have 5 that are iterations off of whichever one was closest. Then you should have 5 that are still completely different, because we don't want to get into an echo chamber where we're just lightly iterating and making like superficial tweaks, because that's not going to move the dial the way we want it to. And so I want us to all pause here and keep rinsing and repeating that cycle until you get to a mockup that's less than $1 cost per click. And if you have any questions on this at all, or if you'd like a coach to look at your ad account and your mockups and give you feedback. Then you can join the WeScale Accelerator. It's where you can post a case study, join the live calls, and have a coach, myself, Meg, somebody's going to look at your store and give you direct feedback on what is the number one opportunity for you to improve, and hopefully get you closer to that. The next mockup test is the one that gets under a dollar cost per click. So pause here until you get to that point. So if you're watching at this point, you should now have a mockup that got at least 5 link clicks and less than $1. So now we're going to apply that winning mockup to all 100 designs. So when somebody lands on our site, they are seeing the same mockup everywhere, and it feels like a real branded experience. And to help us with this, we're going to recruit Meg. She is the queen product uploader, designs, mockups, all of that. That is her bread and butter. I'm more on the ad side of things. I just stick to my lane. Anyways, here's Meg to help show us how it's done. All right, and now Meg is joining us to help us finalize that mockup. So the one that we just looked at the results for, we are now going to be taking the next steps so that our store ultimately has the winning mockup across all the products. Meg, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as we kind of talked about before, your mockup is just going to completely elevate and I think change the way that your entire site looks and feels. So it's really important that we have it. Now, one of the main questions that I've gotten asked over the past 2 years has been, okay, I have my winning mockup. I have the single colored shirt. How do I change the shirt color but keep my mockup exactly the same? And this is one of the amazing parts about AI because 12 months ago, this didn't exist. And now your life has gotten so much easier with Nano Banana. And I'm going to show you exactly how to change the colors of your winning mockup to match all of your colors across your store. So, for example, I already kind of ran through with our winning mockup and I added it across all the different colors that we have on the store. But essentially, this is how your mockups are going to look after we get through this section as well. So, what I like to do, you can either take a screenshot or you can download the file and then upload it into Gemini where we use Nano Banana. But we can screenshot it, go to Gemini, drag that mockup image in. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get it to match the exact color in Printify? If you click the link in the description below, go to the school community, you're going to be able to grab all of the resources that go along with the course. One of those resources is a link to Gildan 64000's colors. So every single color that Gildan creates is right here. You can click the little information button and it's going to give you the hex code as well as the RGB. Like there's all these different colored settings. I like to just grab the hex code, but we're just going to copy that hex code, paste it into Nano Banana, and we're going to say, hey, I want everything about this image to remain exactly the same. All I want to do is change the color of my t-shirt. So we will take, for example, we'll just take pink because we don't have that. Go back to Gemini. And we're going to ask Gemini, aka Nano Banana, create image. This image. Keep everything the same. To change the color of the t-shirt to be this hex code. Okay, we're gonna let it run. And then essentially once it says run, you can continue to say, I want you to do this again, but for this hex code. I want you to do this again, but do it for this hex code. And it should be fine in just one single chat. If you're kind of finding that Nano Banana's changing a few things, just start a new chat, put the original prompt in that I just did, and you should continue to get a flawless output every single time. And there we go. So what I like to do is I will download the full-size image. We'll go back to Canva. Add a page, and then we'll wait for that to download. Now, one of the funky things about Nano Banana that it does is it puts the watermark down here in the corner. So we're going to get rid of that.
Yeah, I just use the magic eraser for that.
Yep. That's what I do too.
And would you recommend that, obviously, like on that Gildan page, there's, I don't know, 1,000 colors. Obviously, we don't need all of them. And we use different colors sometime, on average 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
But we use slightly different ones depending on the design. So would you recommend people just make all the colors first, even if it, does that make sense?
Like every single color on there, or just the colors that we have in Printify?
Yeah, just the colors that they're going to be using, like in Printify.
Yeah, I like to just batch get all of my colors exactly how like I want them to look. And then when it comes to actually getting our design and putting it on there, it's relatively quick. You could do every single color, just be like, I have every color in case I need it. But I've never gone back and added like 12 different colors back to Printify. Like once I pick my colors, I'm sticking with them.
Yeah.
So, and you always have your original here. So you can always continue to take your original mock-up, put it into Nano Banana, and add those colors later down the line.
Yeah.
Sweet. So now we have our mock-up. The next thing that we need to do is add our design to it.
So you would just I'm learning too. So you would just repeat this again and again
with every color that you are adding to your store.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and is there anything in particular that you're looking for in making sure the color matches? Or like, how much do you care about that? Basically, what I'm getting at is, can we trust Nano Banana enough, or should we be doing some extra checks to make sure it matches close enough?
Yeah, you can always do an extra check in Printify. Okay, so for example, I pulled up a design here. This way we can kind of double check those colors. For the most part though, they're pretty accurate. Again, I made this azalea color, like we don't have this on the store, but just to show you guys the hex code. But this is the color of our navy mock-up. And then if we go over to Printify and look at the navy, it's pretty close. And the most important part, like when we're putting in the hex code, it should be pretty darn close to what is in Printify. The biggest thing I would say with mock-ups, you want it to look pretty close to what people are getting. It's never going to be exact just because, you know, unless we were physically taking this mock-up or physically ordering the shirt and then taking our own picture to use in our mock-ups, there's going to be slight variations. The most important thing with the mock-up is you want it to be what the customer is going to be expecting. So I'll give you a story. One of my first stores that I ever launched, I had a design that sold in two colors. It was red and tropical blue. When people ordered the red, our mock-up was more of kind of like a rustic looking red. When they got the shirt, it was like fire engine red. And so we had to go back, we had to modify the mock-up. And it was just because like we were like, oh, well, the mock-up, it looks nicer with the, you know, the more rustic looking red. Customers were not happy. So just try to make sure that the color that's in Printify is close to what we are putting on our actual mock-up. Again, there could be slight variation. Very rarely would you have somebody who's like pulling up your ad and holding up the t-shirt and like comparing, unless, you know, you had a huge design and then they got the shirt and it was like a design here, just small in the middle.
Yeah. So rule of thumb, aim for within 20 to 30% similarity, both in terms of the color and the design placement. Besides that, just forget about it and keep moving.
Yeah.
So, all right. So people will have roughly 12 of these colors ish, because 6 to 8 per design. Normally
6 to 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Normally using about 12 in total. Great. What's the next step?
Next step is actually uploading our mock-up onto our site. So we will upload our design, which I'm going to do this design here. Move the background. Perfect. And then we are going to size this up on our shirt. You want it to be, you know, looking pretty good. Nice. Okay, so once we have our design placed where we want it to be, we want our design to stand out. We want it to pop off of that mock-up page. The next thing that we can do is you can just copy this design. And as you're scrolling down and you're clicking paste, it's going to paste that design in the exact same spot on every single mock-up. So you don't have to worry about, you know, continuing to add the design in, adjusting the size, trying to line it up and making each mock-up look exactly the same. This is the easiest way to just quickly get your design across in the same spot on every single one of your mock-ups. And then after I do this, I like to download the file, download all of them. We'll then save the file to our drive, and then we can delete the design and just go into and do the next design. Probably the fastest way to do this is going to be with working in batches. That's what I've found to be the quickest way to do this. But now that we have our design.
I think a little tip that might help people is that you can rename the page title. So you could rename this to be whatever color that is, and then you just rename the folder or the file. So like this would be Bad Lie Design, and then you would name this green, black, charcoal, and then when they download it, it'll have like the completed name.
Good point. Once you have that design file downloaded and either uploaded to your drive or uploaded to your desktop, we can then go over to Shopify and get this product completely ready to be put into a catalog ad. So we find our design, Bad Lie t-shirt. We're going to go and delete all of the media that is in here. So check all of them, remove. Great. Now we're going to upload. We're going to add our designs, and we can select the colors that we currently have by shift clicking. We have almost all of these. We'll double check, but I know we don't have azalea. So we'll open, this will upload all of our designs. Great. And then we can double check the colors. So get rid of navy. Remove. Great. And then we didn't have military green on this one. So we'll remove that. I think the green looks the best. And typically I will drag the mock-up that I think kind of catches somebody's eye the most when I'm first going through this. Once we run our catalog ad and we start getting some data back of, hey, which color are people clicking on, really liking, I come back to the design. Let's say it was light blue is getting the best clicks in our ads. I will make sure that that is the color t-shirt that they see when we're in our collection on Shopify. But I like the look of the green, so keep it green. And then we will come down here and we're going to swap out these mock-ups, because this is what on our product page, this is when we click a color, it's going to change the picture, and we want it to match up with the color that we currently have selected. So first we're going to do charcoal, sports gray.
Yeah, I definitely think saving the you just know these colors like the back of your hand. I definitely think for like if I was doing this again, I would want to save the name to make it faster. And I would also probably just do every color for every design just to avoid like having to go back and like remake them, even if I end up. Okay, so you would recommend people do that?
Yeah, so like let's say you have a total of 12 different colors, like what you were saying, across your different designs. I would make all 12 and then have them for every single design. And then when I'm coming here to upload, yes, I have 12, maybe I only have 6 colors on one particular design. I'll just go through and double check that I have the correct colors, and then I'm good to go. But they're already made. So
yeah,
just makes your life a little bit easier. Perfect. So that's looking really good. And then finally, the last thing that we want to do. So let's take a view. Let's first save this. We'll preview it, and then I'll show you a trick for our color variants. So view it, looking pretty good. Got Irish green.
And you see how it's swapping there? Shopify is not smart enough to do that on its own. It's only doing that because of the last step Meg just showed.
Yep. So that's a really important step. You don't want to miss that. Okay, so see how we have the text here up top for our color variant. Something that we can do to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and helps with our conversion rate, we can open up color and connect a meta field. So when we click this, we'll click color. It's going to essentially match up all the colors. If a color for your one shirt is not there, you can always click this, edit the color, and then change it to the correct hex code. So that's another reason why we put that resource there for Gildan, Comfort Colors, Bella Canvas, whatever t-shirt you are selling, you'll be able to get the perfect color match on your color swatch. And then, so we'll say done. The last thing that I like to do, here we go, drag. This is an important step. So when somebody, because we have this big mock-up picture here, this is our primary mock-up. When people are in our collection, this is the mock-up that they're seeing. Now, when they click on that design, I want the same color to show up when they hit that product.
Mind if I show a quick example?
Sure.
So this helps a ton with conversion rate optimization, and it's a very subtle thing. So here, let's refresh the page. Yeah, see how it's the green right now? Did you already reorder it?
Yeah, I already reordered it.
So the picture that shows here, like on this page, the collection page, is set here. So if I were to drag this there and then click, is it okay if I save?
Sure.
Not going to mess you up?
You shouldn't.
Cool. So now if we refresh, Yeah, see how it just changed? Now, if she clicks, or I click, it will bring up, oh, it's actually, oh, on this theme, we have the quick preview. So it's not, it's basically loading that version of it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Most themes it doesn't do that. So
Nice. Good job. Build my pod. So, yeah, it's still a good best practice to make sure that it's set here as well, so that it's in the same order. Because it'd be a weird experience if, say, you're a customer, you click on the green in the collection page, then as soon as you land on the product page, it's a white picture. Just a little weird. We're going to cover all the conversion rate stuff in future lessons, but that's a quick one that you can knock out as you're making these uploads.
yeah, so we'll just save. And there you have it.
Awesome.
Now, this is definitely a little bit of a tedious task. It's a lot of repetitive kind of moves over and over again. It takes time, but you get into a groove and you get really quick with it.
Yeah.
So definitely just kind of put on your favorite playlist, get in the zone, and just start knocking them out. Once you get into a routine, it gets really quick.
So, two questions. One, you mentioned batches earlier.
Mhm.
Roughly how many designs would you recommend doing? Or I'll ask you, like from your experience, how many designs do you do normally at the same time? Is it 5, 50?
Kind of find what works for you. I particularly like to work in batches of 10 just because it allows me to continue to, dot my I's, cross my T's, make sure all those little tiny details aren't getting missed. Where if I batch kind of a big group, I tend to get a little lazy sometimes and it'll be like, oh, like I'll come back and do that. So if I'm doing 10, it allows me to, one, get a good amount done and uploaded, but at the same time, I'm making sure that I'm not, cutting any corners.
So what that looks like in practice, just to make sure we're all on the same page, is so we have this Canva file that we saw at the beginning. I would have 12 designs here, and then this one design is now done. Is it better for me to create a new Canva file, or do you just delete this design off of here and replace it, and you just keep working through the same one?
Yeah, I just delete it and I delete the design and then I'll just work off of the same file. That's why I download them. With each time I switch out the design, I'll download my entire file, put it into my Google Drive, because once I'm done, like I should be good. I shouldn't need to come back and tweak anything. And if I did, like I always have the design, I have my, single finalized mock-up file so I can recreate anything that I need to recreate.
Awesome. So it's just basically hammering through, just
Yeah.
making all of them. If I was personally doing this, I would probably make the mock-ups for all of them first, keep them named, and then just be organizing the folders. So I would have one folder per design with each mock-up and the design file in there. And then I would move over to uploading in Shopify, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, you find your routine of what works for you, the best way that you want to save and file your stuff. Some people like to save it to their desktop, some like to make a Google Drive, some people save everything just in Canva. So, it's all up to you. It's really your preference and how you're going to work best.
Beautiful. Well, you heard it here first, folks. That's a wrap. No, thank you. That's super helpful. And if you have any questions about this, the WeScale GPT has been trained on everything Meg just talked about, like everything else in the course. So feel free to ask it. But other than that, we're going to jump back into mockup analysis.
Awesome.
So after Meg's super helpful tutorial, we have gone through and started swapping out the winning mockup across all of our products, just rinsing and repeating the same thing that you saw her do. And now you can see the brand is really starting to take shape. It's crazy the difference just having a high quality mockup makes to the overall appearance of the brand. So now you do it. And on average, this takes anywhere from like 4 to 5 hours. But the good news is that because we tested, you'd never have to do it again, except for when we upload products. But you'll never have to go back and redo those same mockups. So congratulations, you just made your first data-driven business decision. And honestly, just having one under your belt puts you head and shoulders above the vast majority of beginner sellers. So congrats. Now we have the winning frame that goes around all of our designs. Now we get to answer the question of which designs are actually going to sell. So we're going to be testing all 100 manually. No, I'm going to be showing you how we can set up our first catalog ad that is going to automatically test hundreds of designs, well, the 100 that we have so far, simultaneously, and help find our winners for us. Here's what our finished catalog ad that finds our winning designs for us automatically is going to look like. It looks like this, and it's honestly very similar to the mock-up ads that we just made in terms of the setup. except for one key difference. And that is that we replace the static image, which is just the picture, like the picture that we dragged in, uploaded, that kind of thing. Instead, we connect it to our product catalog so that it tests all of them simultaneously. So our mockup ads were an example of making the ads one by one. That's static, meaning they don't change at all. What our catalog ads do is we set up one ad one time, and then it constantly is cycling through all of them. So Facebook is automatically testing all of our products and showing each design to real potential buyers. And the AI learns which designs get clicks and sales. And it's like if we were to make the mockup test, but with 100 different images. And we only have to set it up once. So let's move on to phase two, the design test. So you're going to watch me do this first, set up the catalog ad, and then you're going to try it on your own. So from our ad account, which has our simplified column set up, we are going to click create and make a new campaign just for the catalog ad. So we're going to do sales, continue. Great. And now we're going to, so we just named the campaign design test, and we leave the objective as sales objective and auction. And then here, Advantage Plus catalog ads, this is where we are syncing the product catalog from our store. So we're first going to check to make sure that we're pulling the right catalog. And the way we do that is by going to our Shopify store, then Facebook and Instagram. So we go to the Facebook and Instagram app. I'm going to pin it to navigation in case we have to come back to it again. And then over here on the right, you're going to see the synced product catalog. So here's the name of the product catalog. And you can see that all of these products, which we have 84 uploaded so far, the remaining 16 are in progress right now, but we're able to see all of the products that it's syncing. And the reason that we're running this after the mockup test is it's already pulling in the updated mockups, which is really cool. I think it's cool. I don't know. Maybe it's just an ads nerd thing. And if you see any errors over here on the catalog, don't worry about it. Just follow the plan, take a screenshot, upload it into the WeScale GPT, ask for feedback, and it's normal troubleshooting settings, and you're going to be in good shape. Now I'm going to go to our business manager so we can see where that catalog is syncing to. So from here, we go down to data sources and then catalogs. And you can see you can rename this. Open in Commerce Manager. So here we can see the full catalog. Honestly, I very rarely come into this view. So you go to settings and catalog name. Just going to edit this to say Slice Club product catalog. There we go. Nice. Then back in the business manager, refresh. Nice. All right. Now we're going to go to our business asset group, which is where we basically are organizing the page and the ad account together so that Facebook knows they're all related. Click assign assets, then catalog, Slice Club. There we go. Now done. Now back over to our ad account. We hit refresh. This should change the name here. There we go. Perfect. Now our product catalog is synced and we're able to use it in the ads. Now for budget, just set it to ad set budget and then turn that off. We don't need anything else here. Design test, ad set. And here's an important thing we want to make sure we select the right option for. We talked about this before in the mockup test, but here it is in its full glory. Facebook trying to get us to optimize for number of link clicks. We do not want that. We want to do maximize number of conversions. So the product set, we're just doing all products. So we have 84 so far, and the 3,800 variants is if you take 84 products times the number of colors times the number of sizes. That's how you get 3,400. And if you want, we don't do this, but you could create a subset of products, but you can ignore that for now. Then for budget, we're going to set this to $12.50. Audience, we talked about why we leave that open, and placements, we leave that open. And now we go to the ad, catalog ad. Nice, it's pulling in. And for format, we're going to do single image. Any recommendation I'm sharing comes from my personal experience of thinking it was a good idea or just running a test. I won't beat myself up too bad, but running a test side by side and seeing that this outperforms that. If you're wondering like how we're coming up with anything, then that's where it is. And then for destination, we want to do manual destination and enter our website URL, which the way I always do this is I just go make sure I'm grabbing the right one. Perfect. Drop that in. Personalization, shop off. Perfect. Ad creative from catalog. That means it's pulling in and it's using the catalog to make the ad creative. Now we're going to use the primary text that we used on the previous ad. So how I'm going to grab that is just go out. I could go back to Claude and get it. Instead, I'm just going to go over to my mockup test, click edit, and grab that. Command C. And a fun little quirk about Facebook is any ad that's in draft, which is what it means when it's green like this. Even though, see, I select the campaign, I go to ad sets, like this ad set, it's in this campaign. But whenever it's in draft, it shows up everywhere. See how it's showing up there? And same thing with the ads. So even though the catalog ad, like I just choose mockup test, catalog ad is obviously not in that. You're going to see it anyway. So just so you know, it doesn't throw you off. Now let's go back to the catalog ad, click edit, and I have the ad copy in my clipboard. I paste. Now for the headline, this is a fun one. We add, click this plus sign here, and then you add the product name. Oh, there it is. There we go. You see it dynamically populated to show the name of that product specifically. Now come further down and for where's the oh yeah, description. Perfect. So we're gonna do stars again. I thought that looked nice. Not only did I think it looked nice, we split tested that against a bunch of different things and it worked well. 30-day guarantee. Okay, then highlight your promotion. Don't need either of those. Now let's turn off all these enhancements it loves adding. So relevant comments, hide price, turn them all off. There we go. Save website events. There we go. Let me just triple check that that's the same pixel. So you see the pixel ID here? I just want to triple check that that's the same one linked here. 1549, 1549, 1549, 15. Perfect. Nice. So website events is turned on here. And now we scroll back up. There we go. So just recapping our settings, we have it set to single image, manual destination, enter your collection URL, and media setup should be from catalog. Enter the same ad copy as your winning mockup test, and then add product name as the headline, then description, a reason for them. And I highly encourage you to use Claude to experiment with these so you're not just copying. I don't want to get hit with a ton of ads of just like 5 stars at the bottom. Nobody wants to see that. Try to come up with something like creative. Like you could use an emoji related to your niche. You could use a flag for like family owned business and then flag for whatever country you're from. Have fun with it. And the way that I learned everything that I'm sharing, as you've heard me talk about several times at this point, is through testing, from coming up with an idea and then just seeing what happens. Because at any point, the only potential downside is whatever the tiny budget is that we're setting. So to recap the budget, we set it for $12.50 per day. And you would schedule this to start on Thursday. Say you're making this on a Monday or Tuesday, schedule it to start Thursday, and then it's going to run through Sunday. But now we're not going to schedule an end date because this is a campaign that we are going to turn back on for continual design testing. And we're going to explain why that is in a second. Come up here, click review and publish, design test, publish. There we go. Now it's going to run through the same processing steps as it did before. Great. So, one final check for your campaign before you hit publish is budget should be $12.50 a day. 100 products should be connected, and you're using the same ad copy from the winning mockup test. And the winning mockup should be getting pulled in automatically. Then you click publish. So now with that, you've seen me do it. Now pause the video here and take action. Set up the catalog ad for yourself and feel free to use the WeScale GPT if you have any questions along the way. But in total, it's take about 10-15 minutes. And what we can expect going forward from here, and so much of our success in advertising or many things is simply our mindset about it. So we want to get that dialed in before moving on to the next piece because our goal here is not profit yet. Our goal is to find 2 to 3 winning designs. Just like on the mockup test, we made 10. When we get one that's a winner, we're extremely happy. When we launch 100 designs, I'm extremely happy if I have 2 to 3 winners. And we continue testing in these small controlled tests. We're slowly dialing things in, tweaking one by one until eventually we have the quote unquote machine that we're able to put in $100 and get $200 to $300 back. That's what we're building up to, not a financial guarantee of any kind. But what we want to not do here is turn off the ads after just one weekend test. So we run it from Thursday to Sunday, then we review on Monday, or increase the budgets to $50 a day or higher. Like we don't want to leave the ads running Monday through Wednesday because those are bad ad days. And you could leave it on. Like there wouldn't be anything wrong with that, except for we'd be spending an extra $37.50 that we don't have to because we know that the thing that's going to get the cost per clicks we want is more designs, which we're covering in the next lesson. But you also don't want to change the creative templates or just reinvent the wheel. Just simply let the catalog run at least for the first weekend. And you also don't want to try and remove any of the products that haven't sold yet, anything of the sort. We're also not expecting sales. But this is a huge milestone, having this set up and running because your testing system is now going through 100 designs automatically. So you should celebrate this. This is a huge stepping point, and your catalog ad is now live, and Facebook's algorithm is testing all 100. So over the next week, sharing like what not to do, take it from me. I check my ads every single day, like every hour of the day. And some days, there were some designs that did well, some days they didn't. The only thing to focus on is we are still gathering data to make better decisions. But obviously, data without action is useless. So we're going to use the exact same design iteration system that we use on all of our brands and follow it step by step. So we are turning those data points that we're gathering into action and start getting the sales up. So the first time that we launched catalog ads on Sloth Hiking Club, we learned a lot because the cost per click that we're aiming for, very similar to the mockup test. We're looking for designs that are getting under a dollar. We were looking at $5 cost per clicks. And this was in January at the start of this year. So really want to highlight this because we got barely any sales from the first round. Now, the good news, we set low budgets and we know that we're just testing. We keep our testing mindset because when we do that, when we stay objective, we focus on just reading what the data is telling us over the lifetime, we then open ourselves up to the opportunity of it growing into something like this, where not only were we now getting 37-cent cost per clicks down from $5 originally, 37-cent cost per clicks, which is like way under the dollar cost per click target, which is great. But we are also getting purchases. And at a ROAS, return on ad spend of 2.3, that means we were getting $2.37 back for every dollar we spent. But it didn't get there by just launching 100 designs. It came from using the simple system that leverages all of the proprietary data we just gathered. Proprietary meaning nobody else has this. It's unique to us. And we use that to evolve our product catalog, meaning we add new products to Shopify. And the beauty of the catalog ad is it's auto updating, meaning anything new that we add to the store automatically shows up in that ad without us having to do anything. So they start getting tested immediately. And when we do this based on our own data, the proprietary data that nobody else has, and we give the market more of what they're telling us they want, we're then furthering the uniqueness of our brand. We're no longer making design decisions based off of just general market research. which is what every other print on demand seller and like marketplace sellers, that's what everybody does because you're able to tell, like through using tools, what their sales are. Nobody can do that with us. They can't see the data that we have inside our ad account. So we're going to set up that workflow right now so that week over week, we're able to start seeing better and better results with the catalog ad. And the result we're aiming for is just less than $1 cost per click. So step one of this is to review the data. So out of the 100 different designs that the catalog ad was testing, here's how to analyze the results. Step one is you're going to go to campaigns in the top left. So your design campaign, and then you're going to go to the ad set. Then you're going to go to the ad level. Then you're going to click breakdown here, and you're going to make sure that you have the ad selected. Then go to breakdown, delivery. Then you're going to scroll to the bottom. They hide the most useful features. the hard They make it the most fun to find. And you scroll all the way down to product ID and you select that. And then what you're going to see is down the left-hand side, you're going to see a list of every single one of your products, every variant that it tested. But as you can tell, it's sorted in no particular order. It's just by numerical or alphabetical order. And so we're looking at random data. Again, just like the mockup test, how it spent conservatively and made sure to allocate the spend to the best designs or what it thought were the best. It does the same thing for the catalog, just like times 10. Next thing we want to do is sort by amount spent. And we are looking for designs that got less than $1 cost per click. So in this example, and this was from our 0 to 7 figure store, out of all the designs we tested, I then basically zoom in and see which designs were getting less than a dollar cost per click. And even though like this one up here got 49 clicks at $2.37, I'm really most interested in these because what we're looking for is the exact same thing as the mockup test in terms of the metrics. So the winning criteria is designs getting less than $1 cost per click and typically 3 to 5 link clicks. And you might be asking, wait, why 3 this time and not a solid 5? Good number. Solid 5 like last time. Well, because iterating on the mockup test, which we already did together, you saw how much time goes into it. And there's two main reasons for this. Reason number one, we are trying to keep our budget as low as possible. And so spending $12.50 per day, we're not expecting designs that are getting 20, 30, 40 link clicks over a weekend. We're expecting more in the range of like 3 to 5. And the second reason is that you experience from the mockup test and then swapping them all out. Imagine if we got that decision wrong and then you have to go back and change them all. That would be a royal pain. You saw how much time goes into it. Meg has had to do that too many times on our stores. Like I would, if I ever thought that we might need to change the mock-up, I would just like kind of hide in the corner before I told her for a shoe or something come flying my way because it's a lot of work. But if we launch a design and it doesn't go well, it doesn't really matter because we have hundreds more that we're able to test. So that's why we're looking for 3 to 5. Now, typically at this point, it's very normal to see maybe 1 or 2, if any, designs that are under $1 cost per click. Again, we are mechanics. We're moving methodically, tweaking one thing at a time, and we are not expecting results to just come dropping into our lap. We expect this to take iteration and more testing, keeping that mindset. But if you have even 1 to 2 designs that are at 3 to 5 clicks and less than $1, like, and if you have even more than that, like, awesome job. Like, I truly see it as a massive win. If a student they launch 100 designs and they have just one design that got 5, maybe 7 link clicks at less than $1, that is a great sign. I do not see 99 losers. I see 99 lessons of what we can learn from for our next round. And then I see one winning design. And that is all that we need. That is the only thread that we need to pull on in order to start growing our catalog. So, like at the beginning, Sloth, you saw the results when it had 100 designs. As we scaled the catalog, went from 100 to 150 to 200, that is when the results changed. And that is when the cost per click started to drop like a rock. And it really only takes one design to completely change the game, which sounds great. How the heck do we find that design? So glad you asked.
And that is by iterating on our winning designs plus introducing fresh research. So if you remember how the catalog ad is updating automatically, well, this allows us to just keep launching designs and it is then testing them for us automatically. And here's an example of what that means. And this is really through everything we've talked about, one of the most important concepts, because once you understand this, you understand like fundamentally how we're able to constantly improve and get better and better results inside our ad account and more sales. And the easiest way to think about what we're doing here is that if we were a brick and mortar store and we have people, like right now, we have people coming into our store, and for whatever reason, there's one or maybe two products in particular that they are picking up more than the average. Like everybody who comes in the door, you're watching them and you see they go in and like pick up that product. What would you do if you were a business owner in that like 90% of your store is being ignored, one or two designs are being like focused on, you have a string of people coming in, pick them up. Well, you'd be curious, like, why are they picking that one up? And what would you do if once you know that answer? Well, first you would go and talk to them and say like, hey, why are you interested? So you would find the winner. You would see what are they picking up more than the rest. Then you would analyze, like, why are they picking that up? And so you might strike up a conversation with them, ask them questions, and then finally, based on that information you gather from them, you would then iterate like, okay, they said XYZ, that's why they liked it. Now I'm going to go make more products like that based on their answers. Well, in lieu of being able to physically ask our customers, which we talk more about like feedback forms and like ideas later on. But like that's when we have a lot more traffic. For now, we just analyze it ourselves and try to infer what it is about customers, like about that product that our customers are enjoying. And then we iterate ourselves. And here's a real world example from our store, Yoga Stay, that we sold to Open Store several years ago now at this point. This was the winning design. It's a person in a yoga pose blended with a tree, monocolor design, kind of grunge. So this was the design that in our catalog ad, it was being tested and getting way cheaper clicks than anywhere else. So it was getting a bunch of clicks at like 30 to 50 cents, good metrics. So I'm curious, like, what is it about this design that made it a winner? Like, why are people clicking on this? And then what can I do to make more designs like that? So I find the winner, which just looking at the cost per click, like we just talked about, then we analyze. And when I analyze, I focus first on the concept. The simplest way to put this is that there are a lot of ways that I could have designed this, meaning different colors, like different number of leaves, maybe remove these roots, maybe blend the roots with their foot, maybe give them hair to make them like more clearly a female, like lots of different minor iterations, minor tweaks. I'm focusing on what are the big reasons, like the big blocks that, really make this design what it is. So that is the concept. So the concept to me is it's a popular yoga pose that is intertwined with nature. And then second is the style. So it is, and style and colors I kind of combine in my mind. So it's monocolor, rustic, or grunge. You can see, this is a screenshot from the site, but so it's kind of blurry, but you can see that it's not just plain white. It's got some of these like specks in it. So it like blends in with the fabric a little bit more. That's the style. And then the color is just all white, monocolor. So we got the concept is intertwined with nature, a yoga pose, then the style, then we iterate. So when I iterate, I'm not saying, okay, let me remove a couple leaves, because that would be a minor tweak. That would be roughly the same design looking at it. So what is a bigger tweak is we changed the yoga pose. So we changed it to different popular poses and intertwined it with nature. Now, this is honestly kind of funny. The piece that I kind of missed on this is that this is a like tree pose, and the designers had aptly made the person into a tree. So that the actual proper way to iterate on this would have been to take like another yoga pose, like a boat pose, and make the person into a boat, or like downward dog, like maybe give the person like a tail. That would be kind of weird, but that's that would have been like the true proper way. But when you know a lot about the yoga niche, you probably would have gotten that. But anyway, this was I did yoga, once a quarter, enough to say that I do yoga. Anyways, I iterated on it slightly incorrectly because I didn't have enough like domain knowledge about yoga. I just share that as kind of a funny side story, because these designs still performed well, which moral of the story is that it still performed well because the most important thing when it comes to iterating is just iterating at all. And most people just don't do enough of this. So now I'm going to run through a lot of examples with you, like how I would iterate on these, and then I'll show you my workflow for how I crank out new designs like this in high volumes. So that's the example. We're finding winners, looking for designs that are getting 3 to 5 link clicks at, anything under $1 is a good sign. And we analyze why is it that we think it's working, then we iterate from there. So looking at Sloth Hiking Club, let's run through, and I'm going to iterate, just explaining the concepts of how I would iterate on some of the best-selling designs. So best-selling, let's look at this. So Out of Breath Hiking Society. Don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. To iterate on this design, what would be a minor tweak? A minor tweak would be removing the sun. It would be getting rid of the compass. It would be changing the font. It would be slightly tweaking the colors. I never, ever, ever make iterations like that. Never. I focus on completely like blue ocean iterations. Reason being, I am already capturing the majority of the market of people that are interested in this shirt just by having this shirt. How many more people are going to be interested in the shirt when it doesn't have a sun or when it's slightly different font? Very, very few. If I do that, I am basically marketing to the same exact group of people and saying like, hey, instead of, this shirt that you saw is a 9 out of 10, what about this one that's now a 9.1? It's like same exact conversation. I want to dip into a blue ocean, completely fresh conversation while carrying over the same characteristics or concepts here. So when I look at this, what I see is I first focus on what is the core concept. Is it humor? Is it sarcasm? Is it maybe there's no typography? But I start there. So for this one, Out of Breath Hiking Society, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. So it's very funny, very relatable, like kind of tongue-in-cheek humor. And where does this humor come from? It comes from a common saying that would be mentioned like while on the trail. Like when they see this design, they're like, oh, I've said that before. That's hilarious. And it's like down to earth, like that kind of thing. So in my mind, I'm trying to brainstorm what are other common like complaints or sayings or comments that people might make while they're on the trail. And then I'll come up with, so I'm ignoring this. This is basically Out of Breath Hiking Society. That's basically a byproduct of this. Like, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. So what would be iterations of this? And I focus on rapid fire. I'm explaining this in detail, but when I actually do this, I just start creating a list really fast. And the reason I say really fast is that it is a numbers game. So the more designs I'm able to get out, the better. Again, there is literally zero cost for uploading and creating these designs. Zero. We have zero cost. So do not let perfect be the enemy of progress with this. But what I do is, so don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. What's something else that's relatable? Like, are we there yet? That's another one. Another one, and I'm reflecting on like my hiking experience. Like I'm constantly underprepared, like underpacked, like not enough water. There might be something there. Not like losing direction, losing track of where we are, not being sure like how to read a compass. That's relatable. There could be a joke around like I was in Boy Scouts like very briefly growing up, and when I go hiking, I like loosely try to draw on that experience, but always pretty ineffectively, trying to remember, does moss grow on the north, the west, east, south side of the tree, like that kind of stuff. Honestly, couldn't tell you, but like those kind of jokes. And I start with this. And then I focus on the graphic next. And so first focus on iterating on the concept, like what are branches of this? And then I would look at the graphic. Keeping the same one, if I were to keep Out of Breath Hiking Society, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. The only way that I would change the graphic is if I completely change it and maybe made it into a person who's like monocolor, kind of like this person is, but make them the full image and then make them like hunched over, like reaching forward with one hand, like, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. And they're like dripping sweat. That's more relatable. That kind of like exemplifies the joke more. Let's go to the next one. Go outside. Worst case scenario, a bear kills you. This one's pretty funny. It's not a coincidence that the majority of the bestsellers are humor based. I love peeing outside. I love that design. No bad trails, just bad knees. Yeah, very relatable, down to earth. So we're getting some good angles that we can work with or seeing like a common trend. So go outside, worst case scenario, a bear kills you. So we could do a whole series around this. Go outside, worst case scenario, you fall into a hot spring, and then we could show like somebody who's like been melted like down to the skin and bones, just, lighthearted, family friendly fun, that kind of thing. Or we could also do like, what's the essence of this one? It's like the the trite saying like go outside, touch grass, that kind of thing. Like you could do one around go camping, they said. It'll be fun, they said. And then just show a picture of somebody being completely miserable, like surrounded in mosquitoes, sleeping on like a hard ground, like it's raining, water's getting in the tent, like that kind of graphic. That would be funny. Then you could do a whole series around that, like go hiking, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Go backpacking, they said. It'll be fun, they said. For trail running, you could do like Twisted Ankle Society, and like never doing this again. And this is also just me brainstorming off the top of my head from just this design, not even using AI. Now, what I do, like truly to iterate on this, is I take it into AI, but I want to show more examples first. So I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. So this is like simple, and I completely set aside like when I'm first looking at something, I completely set aside the art style and the colors, because you could take this design, like that concept. I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. You could take this and stash it underneath here. The design still works. You could take this saying and put it here, and obviously remove the bear because that's design specific, and the design still works. You could take I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list, and put it like remove the moose, the the meese from this one, and put it there, and like wrap it around, and it still kind of works. Like picture just that graphic without the moose, the mises, and put it in the middle, and it still works. So the reason I'm highlighting that is so you can see that it's much less about the actual graphic itself, and it's way more about the concept. The graphic is really the secondary point. Still plays outside. Like that's a good one. We could do another one that's like a grass toucher, and it shows a person like bending down, touching grass. This is the common saying, like go out and touch grass. So now what I like to do is, so I showed you an example of how I would analyze the designs myself, but we don't have to do that because now we have the beauty of AI. So I'm going to drop it in here and say, these were top performing graphic t-shirt designs. I want you to analyze them and then come up with similar sayings, jokes, puns, basically typography that would go well on a graphic t-shirt design that follows a similar thread or like line of thinking. So lean into common sayings, relatable puns, that sort of thing. And then we'll come up with the graphic idea after. Okay. And now to speed this up, because when I work, I like to get the highest output for every hour of my time that I'm putting into it, because I can sit here and wait for it to come back with a full output, or I can copy this same thing into Gemini and see what this comes up with. Here we go, submit. Why these worked: outdoor niche, yada yada. I don't really look at this. Slow Hikers Appreciation Club, Weekend Adventurers Union, Certified Trail Complainer, National Park Amateur Division. Great. And now I just start copying the ones that I like. Basically anything that I think is relatable or could see somebody finding funny. Slow Hiker Appreciation Club. Now, something I'm noting here is that it kind of over-indexed on like it needs to be an organization. Unprepared but enthusiastic, but excited to be here. Established by people who need breaks. Nature is not your friend. Here, survival is not guaranteed. Adventure These aren't really funny. It kind of lost the thread here. Like it's just kind of making death threats, which isn't, it's not that funny. Let's see what else I came up with. Cardio was a mistake. I thought this was flat. Still warming up. Mile 6. Hiking look easier online. Oh, it'd be funny to do one about like people who buy all the latest hiking gear and stuff before they even have gone on a single hike. Elevation is a personal attack. I paused my watch for this. Just one more break. Fresh air, bad decisions. Like that. Find yourself and lose your breath. Oh, I like that. Because like the live, laugh, love type concept, I feel like that really people kind of bundle that with nature and like getting outdoors. You could do like live, laugh, sweat, live, laugh, cry, or live, laugh, hike. That would be one that would be like less humor based, but I think people would like it. Live, laugh, get eaten by a bear. Built different. Something about Mother Nature is, I don't know, is something funny. Not all who wonder are prepared. That's funny. They're like playing off not all who wonder are not all who wander are lost. That's easy to say. This is how horror movies start. Show someone hiking into the woods. And notice again how I'm starting just strictly from the concept and just being creative, having fun with it. All this came from a single prompt. Let's see what Gemini came back with. My knees hurt hiking club established this morning. That's funny. What are some funny, like when somebody complains on a hike, what are some common lines that they hear back? It's just me thinking out loud. Professional trail mapper, hiking, just walking where it's okay to pee. That's funny. Any ones that, like, when you're looking at it, you're like, you get a little chuckle? It's always a winner. Slow hiker, I'm not lost. I'm just behind you. No. Look at me conquering mountains. And by mountains, I mean this small hill. No. It's a little bit too on the nose. Petting zoo, forbidden edition. That's kind of funny. And I'm just bringing all of them together into a single list. That's why I'm copying them into ChatGPT. Camping, spending a fortune to live like a homeless person. I wouldn't add the homeless person, but spending a fortune to live like a caveman. Danger Noodle Appreciation Society. That's funny. Oh, there's actually a great YouTube video that I think we could really use on this. Danger Noodle. I won't bring it up. Forest rules. Don't die. Okay. Ew, people. I hike to burn off the crazy. That's good. Social distancing champion. These are funny. Sorry I'm late. I didn't want to come. Now come up with simple text to image graphic t-shirt design prompts that an AI image model could use to generate these. And now I'm just going to only do like 5 or 10 at a time. Basically, if you do more than like 5 to 10 at a time, then by, the 20th, it just kind of gives up. All right. And now go over here and just start dropping them in. Create image. And again, goal is to maximize the amount of designs we are getting per hour of our time. So you can even get really fancy and start generating multiple designs like from different browsers at the same time. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's an option as well. And as bonus points, you can upload your top performers. Like if you take screenshots of this, that, then say, I've also included 3 screenshots of our top performing designs. I want you to analyze these for the art and design style so that you are creating the prompts based off of proven bestsellers. And note, you should only be looking at the art style. You shouldn't be looking at like the art style, the colors, the placement. You should not be looking at the concepts for these. You should only be using the concepts from down below. All right. So there we go. That one's pretty decent. I like that it did a good use of negative space. See how it didn't. This one, like, I don't like how the badge fills in all the colors. I wouldn't put that on the site, but this kind of thing, it's doing pretty good job. What did it do here? Yeah, there's too many colors there. So if I notice it doing that, I'll say, like, make sure there is a good use of negative space in the design. It should be optimized to be placed on a graphic t-shirt. And sometimes you just have to work with it. That's why I like using AI, so you can go back and forth and kind of build up, like you have an ongoing dialogue with it. Okay, yeah. So now you can see, and you might run into this as well. It's starting to See how it's combining designs? If it ever does that, then you just go to a new chat. Overall, we have a great list of ideas from these, which this is honestly the hardest part to come up with. Then I would just go back and forth with the models until I'm getting like fresh air, bad decisions. What I would want out of this kind of design is like something like this. I'm just going to do this. This design to be about, let me pick one. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, yeah, much better design. Just obviously tone way down the, oh man, that is nightmare fuel. So aside from that graphic, it's a honestly is a great design. Like it used good text. I don't like that it did two different types of fonts. What it did do a good job of is using, like it kept it simple. It used negative space and it maintained like the essence of the original design. But basically from here, it's just using the latest AI models and experimenting. I would just keep prompting and dropping these in. I'm just not going to now for the sake of time, but I would keep prompting until I had versions of these designs, like My Knees Hurt, Hiking Club. These are really funny. Petting Zoo, Forbidden Edition, camping, spending a fortune to live like a caveman. I would just keep generating designs, Danger Noodle Appreciation Society, that's funny, until I have design outputs that look like this, meaning monocolor, simple, consistent text formatting, got negative space. It's not this overly done like badge style. This is just Gemini just having a day right now. Like outputting 4 designs. I'm not sure what it's doing. And models do that. They go through like cycles where like they might have an update where it just completely ruins it. And it normally gets fixed within like a day or two. And it seems like we're just kind of going through that right now. But notice how all the best-selling designs, they're all like very simple, lots of negative space. Most of them have a funny saying or phrase on it. And I would just keep generating until I have that kind of output for each one of these design concepts and one that does not, do that. And so that's how we would learn from the winning designs, look, and how we come up with new ideas.
Then on the flip side, we're able to learn from our losers as well, just as much as the winners. So when we go to the last page, when we're sorting by bestsellers on Sloth, we're able to see completely different designs. Some of these were the originals that did not work. And so looking at these and imagining again, if this was in our catalog ad, what we would see is this design getting no clicks. So then we analyze, why didn't this get any clicks? Well, the focus of this, like the genre of the design is completely opposite from the ones that perform well. Like it's not humor, it's more peaceful, reminiscent, eco-friendly type vibes, which is not at all like humor, sarcasm, mainly the topics that convert really well on like print on demand shirts. So that's a good note for us to keep in mind. Also the graphic, it's a lot of colors and it has like the name of the brand randomly placed in there. And then Hiking the Cosmos, kind of a okay design, a lot going on, and it's kind of vague. I think this could be better if it had a like the classic picture of Bigfoot like going through the forest. But if instead of a forest, it was like monocolor of hiking through outer space, I think that would be cool. And then Summit Snacks, Priority Straight. Yeah, so that's like an attempt at a joke, but it doesn't really fully show it. So we are creating variations of the winners to be able to test those new concepts. But that process we just went through is what we do with the designs that are less than a dollar cost per click. But we also want to make sure that we avoid an echo chamber. So you want to think about it like this. If you had a tiny split test in the beginning when you're really far from the goal, you'd end up taking forever. So instead, we take much bigger swings. The way that we break this down and to make it as actionable as possible is the next round of designs you make roughly have a 50-50 split. What I mean by that is half of our designs can come from iterations off of the ones that got less than a dollar cost per click. Half of the new designs, so 50% from iterations, 50% from net new research. So The research never stops. We should always, and this is one of the simplest ways that you can zig where other people have zagged. I see a lot of people who just rinse and repeat, basically changing nothing from design to design. And I've seen people get up to 1,000 designs on a store and not have anything that's getting less than a dollar cost per click. And then you look at their store, it's basically the same design. It would be like if we took, barely surviving, then we just had 1,000 designs that were an okay pun with like a cartoony graphic. And then they're wondering, why don't I have anything that's getting less than a dollar cost per click? It's because we haven't tested anything really different. So keep in mind that the research never stops, and the multiplier effect is what we're really going for. So the winners compound because one winner turns into 3 to 5 variations. So off of that, the first design we were looking at, Out of Breath Hiking Society, we would have at least 3 to 5 designs that are, again, not just the exact same graphic, different font. It's completely different angles. So different types of jokes, different types of graphics, but keeping the same general structure. And then one of those becomes a winner, ideally. It's not a exact science, but then that winner turns into 3 to 5 more variations, and the winners compound. So the question is, we know how to analyze the designs, we know how to find the ones that are less than a dollar cost per click, and we know how to iterate on those. And if you have any questions about this, there's lots more training in the free community. And then we have lots of coaching calls in the accelerator specifically about the iteration process and like design calls, tons of resources if you have any further questions. But the question for right now is, how many designs should we be making? So 1,000,000 designs would be great. Again, this is print on demand. We want to leverage the biggest competitive advantage we have working in our favor, which is we don't need inventory. It costs us literally nothing to upload 1,000,000 designs, aside from our time, obviously. But 1,000,000, it would be great. There's literally no downside. People ask the question, well, once I have 1,000,000 designs on the site or use 1,000, then how would people be able to find any of the designs? Don't worry about it. Just make more designs. But 1,000,000 is not doable. So is one design enough? No. So what is the magic number? Well, studies have found, and this is backed by what we've seen in our community as well, the top 1% of print on demand sellers are the ones who are making 7 designs per day. So that's exactly our goal. In fact, we're going to overshoot it slightly because now with the power of AI, we can do more than a little bit better. Between now and Wednesday, so Monday to Wednesday, while our catalog ad is turned off, our goal is to make and upload 25 new designs. And you can obviously be designing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like design, research, design, rinse and repeat day in and day out. So our weekly testing cycle, our rhythm here is Thursday to Sunday, our catalog ads are turned on. So let's look at the ad account. Every Thursday to Sunday, our mock-up test is turned off at this point. Our design test, if this was Thursday to Sunday, would be running. So this is running Thursday to Sunday to get the cream of the crop, the juiciest, cheapest cost per clicks possible, because that's when everybody's scrolling. This runs Thursday to Sunday. Then come Monday, we analyze the designs. So we look at the breakdown. We go breakdown by delivery, product ID, and it would show you the list. This one hasn't spent yet, but it would show you the list of designs. You then sort and see which one's got the cheapest cost per click. Actually, let's look at a real example. So here's an example of what that would look like in a real live catalog. This was one that we just recently ran for our brand. And so you can see I sorted by number of link clicks, and we have all of the products here. And notice how so many of the products only have 1 link click. All of these down here have no spend at all. You are going to see the exact same thing in your ad account. I promise you. And again, that is the algorithm doing its job. I'm getting energized talking about this because I've heard this question so many times. And I don't mind answering the question. I just don't want people to get hung up on the wrong things. Do not care about which designs are getting spent or not. Only focus on what we are learning. Like when I see all of this, I don't care that, oh, these only got 1, these got none. All that I see is all up here. All that I see is these designs. And I go, awesome. This one got 37 cents. Awesome. This one got 61 cents. Awesome. 15 cents, 47, 30 cents. I just see that and my eyes start lighting up because I'm like 3 to 5 iterations off that. One of those maybe turns into a winner. Awesome. 3 to 5 variations off that. One of those turns into a winner. Possibly. It might be one, like our win success ratio is like 1 to 20 or 30. And that's after doing this for years. So volume is the best way to learn. But this is an example of what it looks like in an actual ad account. So Monday to Wednesday, you're creating the new designs and then you're repeating every single week. And to give an estimated timeline here, the mock-up test, people on average run it about 3 times. So about 3 weeks. I've seen it go much longer. I've seen people nail it on the first shot. Very rare it happens on the first shot. Catalog ad tests, rinsing and repeating until the overall catalog is less than $1 cost per click. That's the goal. But we never stop making designs. But an estimated timeline here is anywhere from 2 to 4 cycles of this. But it entirely depends on the quantity and quality of the new designs you're making. So what you can ignore here is you can completely ignore whether or not you're making sales. Because remember, the final phase of this, phase 3, is store optimization. That is where we dial in the store to start getting conversions. If you have a couple now, fantastic. That's, kudos to you. That's icing on top. But right now, our goal is nothing else besides getting traffic in the door. You can only have one thing you're focusing on at a time. If you have more than one thing, it's not called focus, it's called split focus. It's called shiny objects. So trust the process. You don't have to fully understand why just making new designs is the path forward, but it is. Because this is the process. If you don't have any that are under $1, it does not mean that you did a bad job. Do not take this personally. We are mechanics. Our number one goal is just fixing the engine. We set emotions to the side and we just look at the data because you're already in the 1% by just getting this far in the course. To be completely honest with you, most people follow a shiny object or they convince themselves that it's too hard or whatever it may be. Like, not throwing shade at anybody, but give yourself credit for making it this far. You have the most important skill, which is the determination to see something through for an extended period of time, long after the mood in which you set out to do the thing has left you. But what it does mean is that we have an exciting opportunity for improvement. Most people just overcomplicate and slow down this process with negative self talk, procrastination, and just overcomplication. So if you catch yourself doing this, simply ask, why am I doing this? What am I afraid of? And what's the worst that could happen? Because the first time I did this and I got expensive cost per clicks and certainly no sales, I was really just focused on the sales. And I didn't really know what numbers to be looking at like you already do. I assumed that something was wrong with my ad setup or the algorithm was out to get me. But then I realized it's none of that. It's just a process that takes time. I just need to continue feeding it the inputs, especially because we're isolating the variables one by one. You are following the right process. You are taking the right steps. Not to say that the results are guaranteed, but you are following a process that is, from personal experience, worked on the past 8 stores that we've run. And it's based off of all the best practices that we've learned from working with thousands of students. And this is the weekly habit. Just doing this and this alone that built Sloth to $800,000 in sales. Eric did the exact same thing every single week. So Eric's weekly routine through this whole process was Monday, he would review the data and then start making designs. Then Tuesday to Wednesday, he's definitely making designs. Thursday morning, ideally, he's uploading everything and then turning on the ads. Thursday to Sunday, they're running. You could do Thursday or Friday. We don't have to split hairs. Like, I sometimes get people asking me, like, can I launch it on Wednesday? Sure. Like, can I launch it? Is Saturday morning too late? No. It's just there's ideal or optimal and then required. The only requirement is just making designs, but you can certainly run it on different days. And worst case scenario, you'll learn something from it. But Thursday to Sunday is what we've seen people have best results from. Most important thing is 25 new designs every single week and never stop testing. We want to have consistency over intensity. We don't want to try to overshoot it and launch 100 designs the second week if that means we're going to burn out. I would much rather see somebody just put out 25 designs per week, every single week, and they get slightly better every time. We get slightly better at doing the research, coming up with the ideas. We start seeing, being the comedian, what jokes are landing and what's not. That is the whole game. We are a student of our ad account. And that's it. You literally just lock into this process and keep your full focus on the inputs. Inputs over outputs. What this means is simply focusing on what you can control. The daily actions. You cannot win the game by watching the scoreboard. You win the game by focusing on the game, by practicing, by putting in the reps, rather than just obsessing over the results. And why does this matter? It matters because you can't force results, but consistent inputs over time create the foundation for success. And the way you use this is by setting clear, actionable goals. We already have this. Make 7 new designs per day and trust that the outcomes are going to follow. And here is a perfect example of this from a coach inside of the accelerator, Joe, who shared his story about how he had 5 orders in June. And then he had 1,756 orders by November. It's a beautiful post with lots of insights. The main thing to highlight here is none of this matters unless you do the basics first. There is no secret sauce. It is research, design, iterate, test, find real winners. The exact process we just talked about. Or here's another one from a member who just hit a $250,000 store, and they said their key insights were if you found a design that sells, iterate on it. Even if it's a simple color variation, I personally like going broader strokes, but it's not one size fits all because, again, it's print on demand. There's no cost to launching more designs. And if you haven't found a design that sells, revisit your research and iterate on something that is selling. Here's another one from a member who just shared that they are making a living about $5,000 a month in profit from their store. And the key insight that they shared is keep the focus on more and better designs, doing better research, analyzing the patterns of what topics and styles are selling most, improving your visual design skills, increasing your volume of design output. Nothing else will help nearly as much as a new winning design. The biggest key to success is selling products that people really, really want to have. Who would have thought? And here's another member who hit a $50,000 month. And the key insight from their post was that what turned it around was that they found a winning design. My current best-selling tee launched mid-August and has been crushing it consistently. Other designs are selling too, but one's the star. So if you ever feel stuck under your own glass ceiling, keep designing, keep testing. Things can change in just a week. I think that says it better than I ever could. So I'll leave you with one last point that, and the reason I'm emphasizing this is that this is the game. This is where branded POD stores are made, is in these 2 lessons, the mock-up test and the design test. And this is where your brain is going to logically start finding all these different reasons that you should be doing things besides making new, better designs. But just remember this, the success you're looking for is in the work you're running from. That's not a quote from me. I think it's Naval Ravikant, to give credit where credit's due. And discipline equals freedom. That's from Jocko Willink. So hopefully by the end of hearing all this, nobody should be like Pablo Escobar here, waiting for his best selling print-on-demand design. We should be out there testing, keeping in mind the 3-phase testing strategy and the example we had at the beginning. Our goal is to get to the point where we are putting in $1 and getting $2 back. The first step in that is getting our cost per clicks down, getting people in the door. This is when we're in the testing phase. And then once we break through the gate and we're at a 2.0 plus ROAS, then we go into scaling. But we can't put the cart before the horse, because when you're able to lock in and just consistently commit to a repetitive process and get better and better and not think that it has to stay exciting, that this is not your Netflix subscription, that's where you stay entertained. This is where you come to get results. And results, like in any other area of life, always comes from doing the right action again and again. And when you're able to lock into that and consistently commit to a process, here's an example of our Q4 growth. This was our brand last year. We did $400,000 in sales, and the same Q4 or the same time period, Q4 this year, we did 676,000. So over a 50% increase year over year. And all that we did from last year to this year was we just added new designs. When you're in the testing phase, it's new designs. Once you're scaling, it's new designs just by showing up every day and expanding our product catalog. So what's going to happen from here is you analyze your cost per click, you make 25 new designs, you launch, you run Thursday to Sunday, and then you repeat. And you repeat again, and you repeat again, until eventually we get to less than $1 cost per click overall in the catalog. That is the action that took Sloth from this to this. So view the first 100 designs as a training ground. We are learning the market. We are learning what our customers resonate with. And if you ever feel yourself getting frustrated looking at the ad account thinking, and I've felt this way 1,000 times, like first time I ran ads, I put a lot of effort into the designs and launched it and got nothing. Big old bupkis, big old goose egg. And instead of letting my ego down and asking, well, maybe there's something I could be doing better. Maybe there's something I missed. Like asking questions, just staying curious, staying in the testing mindset. Instead of doing that, I just continued on doing the same exact thing, which then just dramatically increases the cost because then I'm paying with my time, I'm paying with money, and my ego. I'm still protecting it, but I'm eventually going to learn the lesson just the hard way. And then it's an even bigger hit to the ego. Opposed to, we can just shortcut the entire freaking process and just be open minded, objective, and be self aware about how good of a job are we doing? What are our areas of opportunity? And when we see a $2 or $3 overall cost per click, which is high, maybe that means that there's a lot more that we can learn. How beautiful an opportunity that is to learn something new. So take the coaching from the market and you save yourself all that time and money. Just be asking yourself when you're looking at the ad account, what am I missing? Is there anything that I could be doing better? Like, are the numbers improving? Then great. Stay after it. Keep the same approach. Keep doing what you're doing because winners will start to emerge over time, but only after the inputs are there. And something that personally changed my life when it came to being able to crank out a high volume of designs, which is what the business model requires, is time blocking. So, time blocking versus just open ended work, which is what 90% of people do, is when you schedule specific time slots for each task or category of work. The reason it matters is that you know exactly what you should be working on and when, which overall reduces your procrastination. And the way you use it is at the start of your week, map out when you're going to be handling key tasks and just keep it realistic. So I recommend right now scheduling the things we know we're going to be doing. Schedule time on Monday for analyzing the designs. Should only be about, or analyzing the results. Should only be about 30 minutes. Then schedule an hour on Monday for making designs, an hour on Tuesday, hour on Wednesday, and then time either Wednesday night or Thursday morning to upload them. And when you do that, you have to treat that time with as much respect as you would if it was a doctor's appointment, meaning you wouldn't let somebody interrupt you when you're at a doctor's appointment. You wouldn't have other appointments that can usurp that time. No, this is your time. And if you were not protecting it for yourself, then nobody else is. So you need to be extremely disciplined about this, meaning your phone is on do not disturb. You are locked in, you know what you're doing, and you have all your tabs closed, desk cleared, and you're going all in. If you want to hear more of this mindset stuff, there's 4 hours of it in the last course. Didn't put it in this one. I could go on for days, as you can tell. So the daily routine for myself that really helped the most. And the reason we're covering this now is that so much of your success at this level or at this point is just going to be your ability to be productive. Like, how good can you get at putting out 25 new designs? Like, which honestly is not even that many. You could do 50 per week and it wouldn't be enough. You could do 100 and that would be exciting. So the faster you can lock into a good routine, the faster you're going to be able to get the results that you want. And for me, what works is something along these lines. So I wake up at about 6 a.m., then I weigh in, I take my supplements, I drink a gallon of water, I drink Athletic Greens, and I max out at 2 cups of coffee. And I try to keep like a caloric intake around 2 to 2,500 calories. And I have 45 minutes of phone time. These are just like good daily habits that help me be my most productive self. And I just have them in a checklist so that every day I wake up and I check the list so that I know that everything is taken care of. So if you ever feel like your mindset is wandering, look first at how your daily habits are stacking up. Like, are you getting good sleep? Are you getting the same sleep every night? Is it the same 6 to 8 hours? Are you drinking lots of water? Are you eating lots of carbs over like high protein food? Are you getting outside at all? Are you meditating? Are you journaling? Like, those are the things. Like, normally when somebody gets hung up at this stage, it is not about the designs. It is about their mindset and their ability to just show up every day and be objective, which objectivity just and self-awareness gets thrown completely out the window when we're in this heightened state of like fight or flight because we're getting terrible sleep, which is just like handicapping us from the gate. And we're drinking sugary food or sugary drinks, drinking a ton of caffeine, and just putting junk into our body. It would be ridiculous for us to expect ourselves to be able to show up and make 25 to 50 new designs per week. And then people end up saying that it's the designs or it's just not, it's my niche, or they start pointing the finger every other place. I'm here to tell you, it's not your niche. It's not the mock-up, assuming you followed the structure we used before. It's not your store. We're not even at that point yet. And it's nothing else. It's not the design tools, the algorithm out to get you. It is literally just your designs. You just need more and better designs. Just lock into that. And if you join the accelerator, you don't have to. You just saw some posts. But if you join the accelerator, you'll see win after win after win of people saying, coming full circle, saying, I tried literally everything. I hemmed and hawed, and then eventually realized, it's just about the designs. So I want us to pause the video here until you get less than $1 cost per click on your catalog campaign. So you will have a Thursday to Sunday cycle. One Monday, you're going to log in and you're going to see less than $1 overall for the catalog campaign. Until you get to that point, pause here and enjoy the journey. And if you want any help along the journey, or you're looking for something to jumpstart it or accountability, then feel free to join the accelerator, where you can join the 21-day challenge, where you will get on coaching calls with Meg and you go through a day-by-day process, taking you from the launch of your store all the way through your mock-up tests to your design tests. And we will look at your store with you, give you feedback on your designs, and help you identify the next step forward. But again, part of the reason I elaborated so heavily in this lesson is in the interest of making everything possible that we can free. So there you have it. But 21-day challenge, if you're looking for a way to jumpstart things, I highly recommend it, and you will not regret it. Once we get to the $1 cost per click, we're now transitioning to phase 3, which is the third and final variable, the store. Let's optimize for conversions. So up until now, we've just been getting clicks to our site. So we've successfully figured out how to drive people from the highway over to our store. And we've maybe gotten a handful of sales, which, is nice and all, but we're here for the real sales. So this is where we isolate the third and final variable, our store. And when we do that, our customers start to take notice. And here are actual reviews from Sloth Hiking Club, like Becky, who said it was very easy to order. Beth said it was easy to order. Susan said website is very easy to navigate and ordering was a breeze. This is what we're going for. That is what we are looking for our store to be able to do for our customers. So let's make that happen right now. So the tweaks that we're going to make on our site can be taught. What can't be taught is the mindset, continuing to keep the mentality of a mechanic. So we are just going to continue tweaking things until it finally works. So step 1 in optimizing our store, we are trying to answer the question of, people are coming to our site. We know that they're interested in the products, otherwise they wouldn't be clicking. We know that they're very interested because we tested until we got less than $1 cost per click, which compared to industry averages is really good. Tells us that they are interested enough that they would buy, but there's a reason that they're not. So first we have to identify what that issue is. And step 2, we fix the issue. Now, the challenge of this, and why without some kind of training it would have taken me years, is that looking at a store and trying to go, okay, why are people not buying? It's like, where do I even begin? It's like, is it the font? Is it what I said here? Is it the logo? Is it, what I have up here? Is it, the size of the pictures? And don't even get me started on the product page. Like, is it the shape of the add to cart button? Is it the color? Is it the way the font looks? Is it the icons? Do they hate my sloth? Like, it's none of those things. No, we're going to be doing it together step by step. And we're using the theme from Build My Pod that applied many changes and helped save us a boatload of time, but in no way guarantees sales. That's why we have this lesson here, so we can see what Build My Pod gave us and then what changes we need to make beyond that to really dial things in for our niche specifically. Because just giving a great theme is an awesome jumpstart, but we can't, like, no Shopify theme developer could ever promise, like, use our theme or guaranteed sales. That'd be ridiculous, because there's so many nuances to your specific niche, to your store, and we're going to learn what we need to change about your store specifically. And the way we're going to do that is, because it can be kind of challenging because our store is virtual, be way, way easier to tell what we need to change if we were in a brick and mortar store. But because we're not, so we're not able to see what our customers are physically doing. We're not like at the register watching them walk around like a stalker. Like, why didn't they pick up the